I'd like to call the Board of Assessment Appeals hearing to order. In attendance, I have myself, Sean Bertel, Regina Penn, Lori Fernand, and our staff with the assessor's office.
And I am going to mute. So I will mute myself. Francine's probably muted already. And I will stop. I'll get rid of my video in a moment here too.
Okay.
I'm admitting our first one, Brian Giantano.
I have the oath if you guys want me to do that.
Yep.
Sure. Good afternoon, Brian. Thanks for joining us.
Hi,
Can you hear us?
Hello.
I can, yes.
We can't hear you.
Can't hear me?
I
There you
can.
go. You
I
got
can
you.
hear him. Yeah. Okay, great. Hi, Brian. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to get started with a real quick oath, if you could. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
Do.
Great. So we've got the packet that you submitted to the assessor. Do you want to walk us through what we've got?
So who is it that I'm speaking to today?
We're a three-person panel. So Sean is head of the board, and then Lori, and then I'm Regina.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So I've taken exception to the assessment of raising my property assessment to $600 from a declared statement of $110. It has to do with a piece of equipment that is a computer printer, printer for a computer. I have a lease, not a lease, I have an ability to rent office space at 90 Hot Meadow Street. I haven't been in the building in 3 or 4 years, and it's on a day by day or month by month use basis. So it's not necessary for me to be there every day. And I do use that address as a mail address for my business with the permission of the landlord. I'm friends with Bob Fiandella and his son, Bob Fiandella. And they, whether it's through them directly or an association that they own or control, that's who the landlord is. All the other property in that building is owned by them. It is not owned by me. I own one piece of property. So those are the facts. The issue is that under the statute 12-53B, it gives the assessor the ability, and the reading says, during the period prescribed by law for the completion of their duties, the assessor or board of assessors of each town shall add to the declaration of each taxpayer any taxable property which they have reason to believe is owned by such taxpayer and has been omitted. And the standard is the property so added shall be assessed at the percentage of the actual valuation thereof as determined by the assessor or board of assessors in accordance with the provisions of these two sections. And the most important piece here is from the best information the assessor or board of assessors can obtain. Best is superlative. That means there is no other available information. So in this instance, the assessor had my address, had my email address, had my telephone number. I received a letter from the assessor indicating that they would get back to me. They had my declaration, would get back to me. They never got back to me until I got notice that my property was going up to $600. And when I inquired about why, I was told because the assessor is of the belief that an office, a small office, has to have at least $600 worth of personal property in it. That was the explanation given to me by Jennifer Russo. And I said to her, that's not true. In fact, all of the property is on an assessor form, a declaration form by the building's owner. It's either been fully depreciated, you've gotten your taxes on it in the past, but they're the ones that own the property, not me. You can't tax me on stuff I don't own. And secondly, it says best information. So the same conversation that I've had now with Jennifer and with other people with you is a similar conversation where I could have been asked, and I could have, just like you did, you give me an oath under an affidavit, I would have sworn that the only piece of property I own is there. that the only use of it is on a, periodic basis, that I haven't been there. And you could have then gone to the files for that particular building, and you would have seen on that declaration, all of the property in the building, which is theirs, not mine. So you did not comply with the statute, quite frankly. So it's on that basis that I ask that you not only reduce this to $110, but quite frankly, that's not the correct value because this property is worthless at this point. It's 4 years old, and a printer that's 4 years old is really not worth anything. And lastly, I'm going to suggest to you that I think for the aggravation that I've been put through for what amounts to about $25 because the statute was not followed, I should be relieved of any obligation on that property.
Okay, Brian, thank you for your testimony on that. Are we talking about like an office jet printer? Or are we talking about like a laser printer?
It's a small laser printer I bought from Staples. I don't know what brand it is. That's how long I haven't been in the building. It's been 3 or 4 years. It's either a Samsung or a Brother, but it's a small printer that I use. It's a multi-purpose, scanner, copier, printer, document manufacturer like that.
Okay.
Okay.
I totally
So
understand
you're-
where you're coming from, and thank you for your testimony and joining us today. We will go over your paperwork after or before our next meeting, and we will send you a notification of our decision in the mail. Do you have any
I
other questions?
appreciate
for us?
that, Sean, Regina, and Laurie. Thank you very much for your time too.
All right,
Okay.
take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay. Sorry, I had forgotten to tell him about the time check thing, so.
That's
We
okay.
have
That was
7 minutes left, by the way. I had started it.
okay.
He was quick anyway.
Yeah.
I think in your packets, I know I didn't keep a copy for myself, but I think in your packets, I might have given you some additional information on that. From previous years when he has given us an asset listing, which was more extensive than just a printer. You may have that in your packets. And again, he may have gotten rid of it or sold it to the guy or whatever. But that's just a piece of information.
So in 2020, his affidavit so just to be clear, he submitted because I know if they don't submit anything, you have to fill it in, with best guesses. But he submitted an affidavit in the previous year?
He did file this year, and he has filed in the past. Oh, wrong mouse. Let me see.
Well, it sounds like from what he was saying that this is really just a mailbox for him, this location. I don't know if that's what other folks heard. And
I mean, honestly, printers are worth about paperweight. So
Yes, however, they're reported at cost value for business personal property reasons. And we follow a required schedule of depreciating it. And this, because it's old, I believe is at a 30% value. And that's where it stays. Nothing ever goes below that. That's standard guidelines for assessing, just FYI.
and I wonder why he leaves the printer there. I guess he does copying with it.
it's a good thing we're not taxing him on the ink.
It's more expensive than the printer.
Yeah. So,
So
we
that's
have
his-
until 4:30 right now for the next one to
Okay.
come in. If they come in early, I'm going to suggest getting them in early, just to keep it rolling. But I'll let you know that. But I don't know if you want to look at your minutes or do anything else on the list. If you've all had a chance to review your minutes.
Yeah,
I have you guys?
yes.
Yes.
I'm happy that I didn't see any issues with the minutes.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from September 6th, 2020?
Motion made.
Okay. And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. And Lori, you're our,
Secretary for
cool. You got that. All right, great.
real a minute.
Yeah, multitasking.
So I guess, what else? Do we want to just handle this one while we have the time, because we have the time? So
In favor.
I'll defer to Regina. You want to give me your thoughts on this? So, I mean, it looks like it was previously at 200 and then it went up to 750. But then that's 70% of that, and that's where the 600 comes from? Or is that something else?
I think that's the only part of this that I'm a little confused on is how to read what that additional information, Jennifer, the property declaration details report. Because it does look like the more detailed thing he would have submitted in 2017. It looks like the amount, the sum there is $200. Can you walk me through how to read that?
It's a $200 cost value is what he reported to us,
In 2017.
that he purchased it in 2017, yes. So applying the depreciation as required of 70% creates a depreciated value of 140. And I don't know what that sound just was.
What's the line below that then, the 750?
Francine did this personal property declaration and decided that since it had always been the 200, perhaps she felt it was not in line with what a law office would have for tangibles and assets. So she applied a minimum value. There's notations. Last year was subject to review by the assessor as well in last year's. So
And last year's was just the printer copier
it was,
on that one? Okay.
yes.
I do understand how it seems unlikely that a law office would only have a printer, but if he's not really using that space anymore, it makes sense. And I think we should move to adjust his appraisal down to his assessment to just the cost of the printer. Would make sense to me because he said he has nothing else there, and I would take his word for it. So that at the total assessed amount is 100 on the paperwork we have here. So it's a little bit higher than what he's stating there because he feels the market value is 100 and then the assessed would be 70. So I don't know what you all think.
I mean, honestly, in my eyes, if it's a 4-year-old printer, it's worth nothing. I know mine is worth nothing.
Yeah, but if that's not how the guidelines
That's the
go for
industry
assessing
standard,
it,
so.
yeah.
Okay.
So then what, I guess, which is closer to the cost, the resale cost of a small printer, 100 or 200? I think 200. I bought a printer in a while.
Well, the depreciated amount suggested in the paperwork is 140. So I guess I would be happy following that and to change the his full cost to 140 for the cost of the printer with a total assessment of $100 for this year.
That lines up with a $200 new printer. Yeah, that holds water.
That would be the market value.
$200 would be the new cost. So you follow the depreciation. I think, right, that's what we just heard, is follow the depreciation schedule.
Yes, yes.
The depreciated amount is 140, and the total assessment would be $100, the total tax burden. So I
Okay.
could make a motion for that. So,
Second,
okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
So you're clear on what that was, Lori?
Mhm. Just gonna make sure I'm writing it properly.
I'm guessing these other two coming up are going to be similar. I guess I should look at it.
Well, this first one looks like they've shut down the business, but didn't file anything for it.
I believe he's closing his business.
And how is that, just speaking generally, how is that handled? Like if the business is closing, right, because we're doing last year's taxes.
Yeah, personal property ends on October 1st of the grand list date. So they're reporting to us the 12 months ending October 1 of 2020 for purposes of these hearings on personal property. So it was mostly 2020, but some of 19. This particular,
It's the company name is Interiors Complete.
yes,
Is that right?
yes. He was assigned a value based on the fact that he did not file a declaration. So he's non-filed, in which case the assessor's office is required to file for them. And usually we file based on prior year information. And the assessor has the authority to impose a penalty for non-filing. You have the summary page and the penalties fall under code 25.
Have they filed regularly in the past? Do we know?
You can check.
Thank you.
So last year they paid $450 and this year it's $500. And they're pushing back on that?
Last year they were assessed 450. This year they're being assessed 500.
Okay.
When
Which
you
includes the $100 penalty for not filing.
$100 assessed value penalty, yes.
Which, if I recall, because I remember we had this problem last session or something, we can't remove penalties. Right? Is that this thing?
That's what I was thinking also.
Francine?
That's correct.
Okay.
Non-filers, I'm back. Non-filers, there's a 25% penalty. Anything omitted
That we
is a
cannot.
25. Yes, if the assessment is adjusted, the penalty then gets adjusted based on the assessment.
That's it. I remember that bit.
Okay.
He did not file last year. He did. It appears the last time he filed was in 2018.
Okay.
So again,
So yeah, there hasn't been much of a change on this one here. I think it was pretty much just the penalty.
I have a process question. So the first page of the declaration form has a section at the bottom, affidavit of business termination or move or sale of business or property. It looks like that wasn't filled out for this person. If it was filled out, what does that usually trigger for the assessor's office?
We are required to determine that they have in fact canceled. There's a list of things that they need to provide to us, such as if they're, as an example, an LLC that's registered with the state of Connecticut, they would need to show us that they've dissolved the company. If they have a banking account, we need to see that the banking account has been closed. Or that they've, some of the bigger ones have filed a tax document as the final tax filing for that business to prove that they are in fact out of business. There's various things that we will accept.
Okay. Have you received any of them for this account?
No, but I believe he has not closed. He is closing, from what I understand, is closing the business. He's identified on his application the reason for the appeal as final working status, closing the business.
Okay.
Um,
Sorry if there's additional questions, I'll answer. There's been some knocking at the door here and a little disruption, so my apologies.
No worries.
The applicant, to be clear, the declaration that you're seeing, I did make an asterisk on the front. He declared that with his BAA filing, not at time of declaration that we normally receive them.
So he's a painter, I'm guessing.
Hopefully he'll be calling in sooner.
And I'm thinking with the minutes, I'll probably have to loop in with you, Jennifer, just to make sure the language I'm using is correct. I've got amounts and I'm putting language in there, but
Yep.
I'm just thinking this one's going to be
You
a little
did get the
tougher.
format that Francine suggested. So if you follow that, it should be fine, but you're going to be submitting to us in draft format and we'll get back to you.
Perfect.
You as the clerk and board member need to make some changes.
Okay.
believe you guys, some of you attended the workshop, right?
Always a pleasure.
Was it virtual?
It was. The last time we went was a lot more fun, but I don't know that you could beat the East Windsor Assessor's delivery style.
No.
And I only made maybe the first 40 minutes because since they switched the day, I had already had another meeting conflict for that evening. But it is always good. It's just helpful.
It's a good refresher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sean, I don't know if you know this, but we can only see the top of your head. There he is. Who's that
always tough.
curly-headed man?
To eat on virtual meetings.
Hmm.
Bitcoin, the best money we've ever had. With a different kind of money comes a different kind of card.
There we go. Elevator music.
Here we go.
Very 60s feel to it. Not that Virginia or Sean would know anything about that, but I could picture my parents with the martini shaker.
Oh, yeah.
It's literally elevator music. 1 hour.
Frank Sinatra on the record player.
If you look right after this one, we've got 15 Sandhill. I think they're coming in angry. We've taken a look at that packet.
You are streaming.
I'm right to be angry about taxes.
Yes. Everyone has an opinion. You guys didn't have any trouble getting in besides my technical problem, right?
The home reno at my house, the addition we just put on, the last thing is the white vinyl siding. Plain like, stock item, every normal part of life. 3.5 months, it's still not in. White vinyl siding. The builders never seen anything like it. It's like, this is like
Yeah,
a
it's
2-day.
crazy everywhere.
It is crazy.
Appliances are like 6 months.
Oh, well, I still do not have a stove, so I know that pain. But
Yep.
stove kind of makes sense, right? There's a lot of little pieces. You can't send a stove out with the missing piece. White vinyl siding.
Where did the pieces go?
Where to what?
What happened to the pieces? Did they get lost?
No,
Why
but
can't they build them?
like you could have a fragile supply chain, right? For an appliance where you've got 500 components that go in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
White vinyl
Something
siding.
that basic.
You got to get the plastic, you got to extrude or press or however you're making it, and then you got to ship it.
See how much a sheet of plywood is?
Oh my God, am I glad that I got my contract signed before all that went down.
It like doubled, I think, from last year to this, correct? I've heard as high as doubling.
Oh my
Yep.
God, that's crazy.
Next year will not be fun for us.
Although I'm sort of
It'll
thinking
be
we
like a
can't,
reval year, not in a reval.
but I'm thinking it still can't be worse than everything else in the past year. I'm still looking forward to 2022.
It'll be worse because everyone will be angry at us.
Maybe we can actually meet in the office.
Yeah, which is really nice.
Fingers crossed, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We don't need a police button when we're all in suit.
Yeah, that's true.
There's benefits. There's health and safety benefits.
Yeah, since I got my shot today, they give you this little piece of paper that says, I'm gay, I've got my second shot. I can't wait to, and I put it on mine, be in the office 5 days a week. I'm being a little facetious. I'd like to do 3 in the office, 2 at home, but I hung it in my bulletin board at work today, and I'm wondering if anybody's going to notice it, but it will be nice to be able to gather with folks again. It's just been really rough.
They didn't give me anything.
Well, I'm wondering, where'd you get yours? I was at CVS. What's that? Where'd you get yours?
I got mine through my other job.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. They just
Like where? So did they have a special site like on the base or something?
The military, yeah.
Yeah.
I assume, so you're not getting a cheeky certificate from the reserves?
And the 20% coupon for CVS.
Nothing.
Also probably not what you're getting for.
They gave me a shot and said, "See you later," in 15 minutes.
Hey,
Nice.
Yeah.
I had the same nurse as I had, 4
Oh,
weeks
yeah?
ago or whatever it was, 3 weeks ago. Yeah. So I've got selfies with her.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I got mine. I got mine last Monday at the convention center.
My niece
Super
went there.
Super
Yeah. All right. We're getting there. Yeah, my husband did the J&J this past week. So, because he was gone all last month except for 3 days, and we couldn't get him in during those 3 days. So here he's traveling. He's 64. He really needed to get that shot. So we were really psyched to get him in Wednesday and get the one and done.
One and done. That's great. I wish that would have been nice. I don't like needles. Needles and I. There's lots of things I hope we're past soon. Close-ups on every news site with people getting shots. I could do without that. My quality of life is going to improve a bunch
Yeah.
when there's anything else on the front page of every page.
Yeah.
The news not being about COVID, how about that
Mhm.
Just in general, yeah.
in general. All right, now this guy's late. Huh?
Yeah.
Where's the music coming from? That's just our waiting room?
No, it's my phone.
John,
Oh, it's your phone? Lovely.
my mom said the best elevator music growing up was Barry Manilow.
I could see that.
I'm like, that's pretty. I'm probably the only person under, I don't know, 50 that's listened to like an entire Barry Manilow album, like sequentially, and has opinions about it.
And are they good or bad opinions, favorable or
I
unfavorable?
don't remember the name of the album, but it was an album where the concept was, it was like an apartment building. And so you were going like on the different floors. And so each song was like a weird person living in each of them.
Oh, I definitely don't remember.
Maybe it was the Mayflower. Is that it? Google Barry Manilow concept albums.
Because I write the songs just in my head. I'm pretty sure that's Manilow.
Here at the Mayflower. Here at the Mayflower.
Okay.
Good album. For, you know, for a Barry Manilow album, it's a good album.
Oh, well, maybe you should look at your next packet for when he calls in.
Let's,
And he does have two, and he was only assigned 15 minutes, I believe. Oh,
okay.
no, he did get, yeah, he got 15 minutes for both. So if he pops in early,
Yeah, absolutely. Get him in.
push him through.
So on the next one, which I see, we've got a personal property and a home one. So I'll keep it to process related questions. The applicant is saying no business exists at property assessed. how do we get our records for what addresses are associated with properties in town?
Based on,
I can answer that, Jennifer. I'm back. Based on information that they provide, based on information when we discover businesses, different things. In this case here, his office was at one point at this location, and it has since changed. And going back to the prior years, I tried to find where there was a declaration where it was actually noted that it was no longer 15. And I believe the actual, because there was a handwritten declaration a few years back, and it wasn't corrected on there. But yeah, so in business personal property is not, we don't assess the location. We assess the business property that is located in Simsbury. A business can have personal property, in a few different locations within town. As long as the business personal property is within our jurisdiction, it's accessible.
And
Okay,
I was just gonna,
so, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, so the decision that Regina and I made back in 2019, that was related to the business at that point also, because it says we've decided not to just for personal property. I don't think that's for the home. I'm thinking that's for the business, because he included that in the business packet. And then this is a little thing, and I think it's probably just a mistake on his part, but the page that he sent in February 2019 saying your assessment of business personal property for the law office at 9 Sandhill Road, that he should not be assessed because he doesn't maintain a business at 9 Sandhill Road, although the sheet came with on his letterhead, that's 15 Sandhill Road. So I'm thinking it was just a typo on his part on that one.
his home residence is 15.
And I think that's where his business has been in for some, or was previously.
Yeah, you'll have.
And
to
we're
confirm
thinking
with
it's
him.
still exists, his business is still there.
Yeah, I think I'm still a little confused, so hopefully they
We
come up.
do have a phone in. I'm not sure whose phone this is because I didn't think he was, but I'm going to admit you can find out who it is.
Okay, because I guess on another declaration, it says 9 Sandhill, so anyway.
Okay. All right, our appellant is active.
Good evening. Who's on the phone?
Hello, Joe Mulshine.
Hi, Joe. I think I
Hi,
heard.
who is this?
Hi, so we've got the board is here. Sean Bertel, the chair of the board. I'm Regina Pinn. We've got Lori Fernand too. If you don't mind, I'll give you a quick oath. And then after that, we've got about 12 minutes ish to fit everyone in tonight. So we'll go right into the topic. So here's the oath. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great, thanks.
Joe, are you there?
Yes, who's this?
Okay, so can you fill us in on your appeal?
Who am I speaking with? Is this Sean?
Yes, this is Sean speaking.
All right. And what Sean Bertel, is it?
That's correct, sir.
All right. Well, why don't you guys made the allegation. Why don't you guys, you have the burden of proof. Why don't you guys tell me where you came up with this $60,000 increase?
Well, actually, you are filing an appeal. So you're the one that needs to tell us why we should change that number.
Well, that doesn't square. Are you an attorney?
None of us are attorneys on the board here.
Yeah, but you know, you forced me to file an appeal because you make a specious allegation. That doesn't take away your burden of proof.
Okay, but we're the Board of Appeals. So
I heard that.
You know, you've got two items you filed an appeal on tonight. One is a personal property item, and then the other is the home value. Which of those do we want to focus on first?
I mean, you guys tell me.
Well, we'll go ahead with the business first.
Go ahead.
And could you tell us about why you're appealing?
Because I went in last year and I physically sat with Francine Beland and explained to her that I don't have anywhere near that price of machinery in my office. And she specifically told me how to fill out the form, which I did exactly as she told me. And it came back with the same result. The other thing too is it's assessed to 9 Sand Hill, and I don't have an office at 9 Sand Hill. As I've said many times. And
Well, actually,
so,
I'm thinking it looks like it's assessed to 15 Sand Hill. So I just wanted, that's one thing I wanted to confirm. So your office is at 15 Sand Hill in your home.
I think for the purpose of this, we're talking about 9 Sand Hill, and there's no 9 Sand Hill office.
Okay. So where is your home off? Where is your office?
Well, now I'm remote, so my office is everywhere.
But physically, you generally are in a place. So although I'm remote, I have an office in Hartford, and then I also work from home. So do you consider where do you consider your business to be?
Wherever I am, and I'll be in 3 or 4 different places over the course of business. So I don't have any specific. Let me say this to you. My office is not at 9 Sand Hill where you made the assessment.
okay, where are you getting mail for your office?
This is irrelevant. The issue here is the tax that's assessed to my office at 9 Sand Hill. It doesn't exist. And I sat down with your lady and specifically went through the figures and went through the form, filled the form as she directed me, and got the same exact result. I've been overpaying this tax for 10 years now. I haven't had an office for 10 years at 9 Sand Hill. Finally, last year, I went in to do something about it.
Sand Hill?
What's that?
Is that where the office is?
You're not, I didn't hear what you said.
Is the office at 15 Sand Hill now?
I'm telling you, the office is not at 9 Sand Hill where the assessment is made.
That's not what I'm asking you.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. That's the only issue here.
Well, we understand that. Where is your office? And I know you're saying remote, but I'm sure you have equipment. You have an address that people send correspondence to. Is that at 15 Sand Hill? Because that's not at issue here. What's at issue here is 9 Sand Hill and the assessment to 9 Sand Hill. Well, we're assessing wherever your office is, whether it's 15 or 9, it doesn't really matter. We do want to make sure it's corrected to 15, but we need you to say that that's your correct address.
I think whether it's 15 or 9 does matter, and it's not 9. And my machinery comes with me wherever I am. I mean,
right,
oftentimes I'm out of state.
Okay, Joe, let me make this real simple for you, okay? We have the option as the board to listen to your testimony and make adjustments. Our other option is to make no adjustments, and then it's your ability to appeal to Superior Court to then take it up at that level, okay? If you want to give us testimony to help us figure out where the property is that we need to pay tax on, then help us. If you don't, then simply we can make no action and you can take it to Superior Court. Your
And
decision.
just as a time check, we've only got about 6.5 minutes left to finish this and the housing on one.
Well, it's not, the choice isn't as you say. Your assessment is to 9 Sand Hill. There's no office at 9 Sand Hill. Your assessment is a nullity.
Okay. All right. Then I think, I don't think.
And I've explained to you otherwise that I've tried to conduct with your Ms. Beland to no avail.
So maybe we want to move on to the housing one then. Which, just to start off, does look like it's 15 Sand Hill. The real estate taxes appeal.
I believe that's where you direct the building you directed it to.
Why don't you walk us through what we've got here?
Well, again, the burden is yours to walk through what you've got because you came out of nowhere and arbitrarily assessed an extra $60,000 to that property.
It looks like, on paperwork, there was a realization that there were some additions to the property that weren't at that point recorded in the town's records of the property. And from what we're seeing, it looks like that was an adjustment to properly account for the fact that those were now features of the property.
Okay, well, that's not true. First of all, I don't know where anything is recorded regarding improvements to a property. But second of all, the last time this house was appraised was you guys for tax purposes, I think in 2017. And you made a full appraisal at that time. Nothing on this property has changed from 2017 to today. So where you came up with the 60,000 poof out of nowhere is a mystery to me.
You know, usually the way we suggest homeowners resolve when there's an error on the town records where, you know, the town records say that something is on a property and the homeowner says, no, there's not. Usually the way we encourage people to resolve that is to have an inspection at the house. Has that been done on this property?
What do you mean usually the way? So usually the way is that an inspection is done at the house by whom?
By
Professional appraiser. And
No,
it is really
no,
helpful
no.
because then
that's not even constitutional.
Okay.
You got to be kidding me.
Well, in the absence, unfortunately, in the absence of that, we've got to go by the best information we have, and the best information we have, which is based on the MLS listing from when the house was put up to sale, is that the features that are currently on the house, they look like they are being accurately represented in this tax increase. So we're happy to listen to, you know, if you've got, you know, maybe they've been pulled down since there, maybe there was some other misunderstanding, but that is the basis that we've got going into this. So we need you to help us if there's part of the story that we're missing.
I'm sorry, your name was again?
Regina Pinn, P-Y-N-N.
And you believe that you see in an MLS listing an increase in value in this property over the assessments that you previously did with experts to the tune of $60,000. That's outrageous. And nothing's been done to this house since the last time you, the town, appraised it.
So the best,
I mean, to look at an MLS and come up with an arbitrary figure of $60,000 in improvements that somebody sees, I don't even know where you begin with that.
yeah, I can
Here's the other thing too. Your notice doesn't comply with the statute. Your notice is improper and in violation of the statute because your notice is issued before the grand list was certified. So this is a nullity as well.
We're talking
Statutes
about
are strictly construed.
well, our challenge is we are looking to at every property in Simsbury and having homeowners come forward to be able to challenge our assessment. And we look to have the assessments fair for everyone throughout the town. So we were not aware of some of the improvements that were done to your home until this listing.
That's not true. That's not true.
Well, the
That's not
value,
true. Any
value-
improvements that were done to my home were done in-
Mr. Mulshine, shouting at us,
around 1999.
shouting at us is
I'm not shouting at you.
is
Miss-
really non-productive.
Miss, I'm not shouting at you, and don't misconstrue my speaking. And that you're trying to incite here.
Can I ask something, Mr. Mulshine? When was the kitchen updated?
I think early 2000, maybe. When look at your inspection, you people inspected it all. It was all signed off on. You have it all in your records. I mean, why are we playing this game? You pulled $60,000 out of midair.
Well, I think the thing is we didn't have it all in our records, and what we did have seems to contrast with what is being shown with the home being sold now. And so we're trying to get to an accurate assessment because we don't think we did have all the information, and we see additional information in the home listing. And so we want to confirm that we are getting to the correct number.
Well, I don't think that's true. In fact, I know it's not true. And the other thing too is you people were all over this place when all that work was done somewhere between 2000 and 2004, and nothing's been done since. So to come out of nowhere on an MLS listing and assess somebody $60,000 with the rate that this town taxes at is really it's a vile thing to be doing off an MLS. I mean, how silly.
Mr. Mulshine,
Nothing-
that beeping was the timer here, so.
Let me ask a final question. What do you think the value of your house is?
I don't even know. I mean, I can't sell it. So, I mean, the taxes are so high in this town, you can't sell a house. So I do not know. That's not my expertise. But let me say this to you. People with that expertise were hired by you and have assessed this house throughout the years. And you're jumping their assessment by 60,000 when zero improvements have been done on this house. We haven't touched this house since maybe 04.
Okay. I mean, your house is on the market for $685,000. So you don't think your house is worth that?
Are you being argumentative?
No, I'm looking at.
If you bring me somebody who will pay me $685,000 for this house, we're playing this game.
We really are out of time here, and thank you so much for coming in, Mr. Mulshine, and having the discussion with us. You'll get a notice in the mail after the board votes on any adjustments that'll be made to either items. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay.
That was fun. Oh.
We have Mr. Del Castillo coming on.
Great.
Hey, Jose?
Hello, can you hear us?
Hello.
We got you. Are you there?
It says connecting to audio. I think you're good. It looks like you're muted, Mr. Del Castillo.
Jennifer, can you unmute him?
Okay.
There we go.
Is that,
We got you.
can you hear me now?
We
Can you
got
hear me
I
now?
can hear you.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm going to give you a quick oath of office, and then we've got about 12 minutes-ish allotted to get through everyone tonight. So
Perfect.
we'll jump right in. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Great.
All right.
Thank you, Jose, for joining us. Just a quick reminder, we do have a strict 15-minute hearing window because we're pretty
Yes.
booked up. So
I don't know if you got, I basically wrote everything down. That's on the attachment page. Basically, what I argue in a nutshell is the land for all the neighborhoods is the same. I'm not arguing that a change on that. What I'm arguing, I did is an analysis per square foot of fair market value as assessed by, as viewed by the town, and compared to the neighbors around left and right in front of the house. And apparently the previous owners never did appeal the value of the property because it is quite high compared to everybody else in the neighborhood. And I did and unfortunately, I understand that because what happened to them, the wife passed about 10 years ago, the husband passed about 4 years ago, and the children were left with just holding the bag and before it sunk, and finally sunk, and there was an auction, and that's when we came in. So if you look at the comparisons, they're pretty straightforward. I did it per square footage, so it's easier to compare to our property, 16 Saddle Ridge Drive. So I'll turn it around if you have any questions about the presentation I made, because I thought it's pretty to the point and straightforward. I separated land, which I'm not disputing. I'm agreeing with the land value attached to it. What I'm disagreeing with is per square footage for the property itself, especially because, and if you noted it, I noted it and I put it in the form. Even the attorney for the committee for the auction noted that it was not in bad condition. It was in poor condition. And we do agree with that because we at least took a 22-yard dumpster a few weeks ago just to clean up what was left over in the house, all utilities. There's a lot of work in the house, and it's been for us about 3 months. And we're still just cleaning up and fixing up things before we do anything remotely to improve the value of the house.
Can I ask you, does plumbing work in the house now? Could you live there? Because I actually did drive by the home and take a look.
Yeah, I didn't live there. I don't live there yet because, again, we didn't have even a boiler. Just to give you a background, this electric service was shut off 4 years ago, and I didn't even know this. Eversource will not hook up the service back unless you have a licensed electrician go in there, and we had about 6 of them give us estimates. We finally got somebody in, and we got the permit and then they pull a permit, change the electric panel. That was the first thing because the panel was 45 years old, it's the original panel. And I thought there were the electricians, the first electrician was BSing us because told us, oh, we'll catch on fire. We turn it on and please give us $8,500. And I said, well, no, thank you. I'll figure out other options. And we found other options. And this gentleman did it for a reasonable amount. And once we got power into the house, it's taken us forever just even taking down the wallpaper from all the original wallpaper from all the walls. And plumbing, yeah, there were some broken pipes and as well as broken heat lines. And no, we just fixed those. And that's it. We don't even have a new boiler yet. The boiler is still the old boiler from, I guess, 45 years ago. And that's about what we've done so far. We took out the old appliances, the old kitchens, because there's two, one in the basement and one on the first floor. And we took out everything else, carpet, padding, kitchen cabinets, bathroom cabinets, and that filled up a whole 22-yard dumpster. And we'll still have plenty of stuff to do. And that's where we are. Yes.
So thanks. This is a great table. So I'm looking at the table and just want to make sure I'm interpreting it correctly. So we've got the 4 comparison properties. Thanks for clarifying that we should just be focusing on the building, which looks like it's the second line for each of the houses.
Correct.
So I follow that across, and so Lori and Sean can follow me. So I go over the first column, and then the second, and then the third, and then the fourth column looks like the one that we should be focusing on here, because that's making the comparison with the appraised value currently. Yeah. Okay, it can get a little, just so you know, it can get a little tricky to go by the fair market values for sales because everything has to tie back to the appraised year.
Correct, and that's why if you look at, I put 16 first, 18 was, even put dates in there. They're all built about the same time. And it also put in the date when it was last sold, like 18 Saddle Ridge Drive was sold 8/7/19, 20 Saddle Ridge Drive was 10/15/85, 10 Saddle Ridge Drive was 6/18/98. So it also gives you a flavor of the timeline. So we're looking for a fair shake. That's basically what we're looking for. I mean, unfortunately, I don't know if the previous owners even knew they had a right to appeal. And I know that's one of the things we do when we do pro bono, I do pro bono work in Hartford Court for people getting foreclosed. And the first thing I ask them is, when was the last time you did a tax appeal? And I said, I didn't know I could do that. Well, that's what we do. We've been doing that for many years. We do anywhere from 5 to 10 a year.
Oh, that's great. That's good work.
So this is pro se work for us.
One question, so we're using the data correctly. The assessed value, right, is supposed to be 70% of what the fair market is at that point.
Yes.
Where did you put the 70? When I look at the appraised value, is that the assessed or the appraised per the tax?
Would I put FMV as fair market value? That's not even the assessment, the pre-assessment, that 100%, not the 70%.
Okay, great. Thanks for that clarification.
Right. So yes, I know, is because when you do different towns, it changes a little bit. And I found out a couple of years ago, not all the towns do it at the same time. It was like, at least we get to parcel out the appeals in the different towns. So we go around the state doing this. But we end up in the same place in New Britain Port anyway, with Judge Goldstein.
I was just wondering, the property, because there's not much property behind the house. So does the property run along the roadway, or is part of the wetlands part of the property that the owners have? Just
to the two questions. Half of the property is the wetlands. So I'm a happy owner of half of the wetlands, and for whatever that's worth. And the other one is basically the two neighbors have fences along the side, and we half of the property, the 1 acre, because the 2 acre property is in the front from the road to the wetlands.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Are you rehabbing this property to sell, or are you moving in?
No, this is my last home. I'm 60 plus, and I'll stay there. I don't have any. What I want to do is travel more and more and work less and less.
That's lovely.
And this is an ideal house for me and my family. So, I guess because it has that in-law part, so I guess we don't need to do the full house. We can do the in-law and pass on the baton to somebody else to use the full house. And it's a wonderful house. It was amazing how much they took. They didn't take, and watch how much they took. I mean, they took the bushes in the front, they took the bushes in the back, they took the bushes on the side. They took doors. There's not one single door in the whole house. They took toilet paper holders. I don't know why. I mean, I understand sentimental value to some things like the bushes, but the toilet paper holder, I'm not so sure. And the deck is wonderful to have a get together in the summer and the fall and the spring. So, but they took parts of the planks also for some reason. It looks like broken teeth in the back deck.
Yeah.
But we'll manage and we'll get it together. And a little bit, for us, it's a 2-year project. So we just do it. As long as we have the inside, we can do the outside a little bit at a time.
Okay.
Very nice. Very nice.
And great bird watching over the wetlands.
Oh, it's so quiet. I mean, I can just go there with a boring appeal paper, bleeding and read it, and the birds will keep me awake.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful, and then I love the cycling because I cycle both road and mountain, and I see people going back and forth. I said, wait a minute, I should be riding with them. I should not be rehabbing this place. But then that will come later. And I talk to the neighbors, and then they're wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions? Because I did try to put as much of it in writing, because I know when you go before judges, they want everything.
I understand. I think we're good. If the board chooses to make an adjustment, I would imagine that we'll probably be revisiting this in a couple of years for the adjustment to go the other way based on your.
Correct. I'm keeping all my receipts and just to yell, especially, I'm sorry, what was your name, lady with the glasses?
Oh, Lori.
Lori,
Lori.
I know you drive by. We just got a kitchen, and it's new. It was a $40,000 kitchen, but we paid $6,500 for it, and I'm keeping my receipts. I'm keeping my receipts. So when you say, "Oh yes, that's what it was," but this is what we pay.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
so
it'd be great to
that's the
see
way
the
we do it.
house come
Oh,
back
it
up
looks-
to its former glory, so.
Oh, it looks so different now with the newer kitchen. Just the floors, putting the floors down in the kitchen looks so much different. And that's the only floor we need to put down. Everything else is good floor. We don't have to do anything except clean it. So I guess you can have a couple minutes before your next meeting now.
That sounds
All right,
great.
thank you for joining us, and we will, once we make a decision, we will mail something out to you, all right?
Terrific. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, don't work
Thank
too
you.
hard. Okay, bye-bye.
Welcome to town.
Thank you.
This
We
is why
have-
I have the NADA, isn't it?
We have, it should all be worked up for you too, so you shouldn't have to calculate. We have Mr. Keller waiting to come in.
Great.
Hey, Peter, can you hear us yet? Not quite.
Hello?
We got you there. Hey, Peter, how are you? We've got no volume from you there.
Hello?
There it is.
Hi.
Now we made it. That's the first time, sorry, I'm first time on Zoom. I'm
No problem.
You're lucky.
familiar with Skype and I'm familiar with Teams, but Zoom is my first meeting. So, but we made it.
Peter, I'm going to go ahead and give you the oath. And then we've only got about 12 minutes, 15 minutes per person. So we want to jump right into your two appeals.
Right.
So do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. Which vehicle do you want to do first?
Well, I only have one vehicle. It's the Ford
Oh,
Flex.
I'm sorry, it's two different years. Yep.
It's this 2019 Ford Flex Limited.
So it looks like pretty straightforward. The appeal is based on the purchase price in
Correct. I think it's pretty couple of years.
2019.
Mhm.
Okay, can you tell us why you think that the value is more than you think it should be?
No, I think the value is 24.50. That's what I paid to a dealer for, and that's actually the market price. If it would have been more, he would have charged me more for it, basically. But that's basically what the market was bearing at this time for that car.
Have you showed us any paperwork that that's what you paid for the car?
Yes, twice.
Yes, it was attached when I sent this in. The
Okay.
invoice from Tasca Ford. And there it states very clearly.
It's part of the 2020 year, one, Sean.
Sorry?
It's okay. They have it. We send it.
Yeah,
With
I know, I was looking for that in the earlier year, which was the 2019 one.
Mhm.
So we have it, it was just not quite where we were expecting. So no problem.
Okay.
Okay, does the board have any other questions for,
Nope,
I
I don't-
really don't know.
okay. We go off to, these numbers come directly out of a book, okay? Not really reflective of what the dealer charges. Although I would say it sounds like you got a good deal on the car, I guess.
Not really. The car has long mileage and was used by the
Well, it was a rent.
rental company car,
Right.
so that's not a good deal.
Okay,
The long mileage and everybody used this.
No, it had
However-
almost 28,000 miles basically when we bought it, which is pretty high for at that time for 2019. Yeah.
Okay.
Furthermore, it was never a popular car. Also, Ford 2019 discontinued it. It was the last.
mhm.
Well, I know that you provided mileage information to
Yes,
the
yes.
town assessor, so that's helpful. And we might have some room there for adjustment, but it's just challenging because we do use the NADA assessment of values so that everyone's vehicle across the board, anyone else in Simsbury who also purchased the same car you did, whether they paid what you paid or paid more or less, that you're assessed in the same way. And really where we have some room to work is with mileage, or if there's some really significant damage to the car that's not been repaired, but we don't have a lot of wiggle room on assessments with vehicles because it's pretty straightforward because we use the NADA.
Well, but still, I think you have to also go what the market bears basically, and that's basically the market value. We looked at other very similar cars basically, and the price was pretty much the same. That was basically the going price what these cars went for. Again, it's not a popular car. It's not a very attractive car. Ford never sold a lot of them. That's why they discontinued it in 2019, basically. Yeah.
Okay. That is good to know.
Like I say, I didn't buy it from a private source. You could play some games. I bought it from a official Ford dealer from Tasca Ford.
Oh, yeah, there's no question on that. They end up being slightly different systems when we have to, try to standardize so everyone's, taxed fairly. Someone who, got a car from a family member. When it comes to just for tax purposes, we've got to find some way to standardize all the different ways people come into possession of cars. So we rely on these NADA tables. So,
well, like I say, but you have to go also, you cannot take a blind eye to what really the market bears for a car like that.
Right, but I mean, if you look up Kelley Blue Book right now, I'm sure you'll get a value probably higher than what you paid for it. The reality is the used car market, and your car is only a couple of years old, so it hasn't seen the
used more than a
depreciation
year.
generally you would see being, that's just the way it is right now. But thank you for your testimony. We will, the board will make a decision and we will mail something out to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
thanks for your time.
Appreciate your
thank you.
time. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
We've got a visitor that's joined us here.
Puppy.
Nice.
They look very comfortable there.
I will rename you Sean Brittel and
Yeah,
the dog's
exactly.
name. What's the dog's name?
That's Iko.
Like, we're gonna rename your square as Sean Brittel and
IKO.
Cute. We are waiting on our next appellant.
Okay.
Red Door Homes, right?
Yes. And hopefully you've all had a chance to review the packages we sent you.
I mean, I read stuff yesterday,
Matter of
but
time.
it's easy to read it and then other things are going on and I need refreshers.
Mhm.
So did he pay taxes in Bloomfield too on this or was
No.
charged? Seems like there was some confusion.
Francine, do you want to weigh in?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Did he get charged for taxes in Bloomfield also?
The one that's coming up?
Yes.
Mm, He did not, I believe, right?
That is
Okay,
my
also
And it
understanding.
confirm.
was sent, yeah, all the information should be in
Okay, I see that
there,
here
the
under additional
series.
notes. Sorry.
At one point, yes, it was sent from Simsbury to Bloomfield, kind of went back and forth. And then lately it was determined that he is here. This business is here in Simsbury, and that vehicle does belong here in Simsbury as opposed to his other business that is located in Bloomfield. So there was a confusion at one point. And prior documentation, we could not find any prior documentation.
And it appears there was some tax exemption status, so that's why even though he
That's what
purchased it
he's
earlier.
Yes, but we could not locate those documents.
Okay.
And the prior assessor had no recollection of it either.
Okay.
So we looked.
And I don't know how people would get tax exemptions. I'm not sure how that would work. And if that's
There's a process for this type of vehicle. For like,
Okay.
there's a heavy load, there's a couple different types of heavy equipment trucks that can go through this exemption process. It's good for 5 years, but there's a process, there's an application that they have to fill out along with DMV, documentation that needs to be provided initially. And then it's either approved or disapproved based on the information provided. And then, yeah, so the exemption at that point, if they are approved, is good for 5 years. And then it becomes taxable after that. It's kind of like on the same, I don't know if you're familiar with the manufacturing machinery and equipment. it's the same, along the same statute as that.
And just to reconfirm, this is solely for, because there were 2 years that he was disputing.
Pull up the documentation again here.
Sorry about that.
Oh, the application is only for 1 year. We never received the prior year application. He had the ability to dispute both years because we did just recently add it. All right. So he had the ability to appeal 2018 and 2019. Although we only received the 2019 appeal notice. He is appealing the assessment because we then discovered that the vehicle does belong here. We now added it to our list, and I was not able to provide that exemption because we could not locate the exemption application, the initial application. So I could not give that, and told him that he did have the option to go before the Board of Assessment Appeals.
Because if he could find the exemption paperwork, that would have applied to 2020 or 2019, I guess, at least, if it's 5 years. It might be both years, huh?
It would have been both years, and
Okay.
the last year would have been 19.
Okay.
The initial year, I believe, was a 2016 as a supplemental, I think, if I recall correctly. Is that correct,
It might have been,
Jennifer?
it might have been 15. 'Cause it
Oh,
was. And mine.
One was supplemental, I think, right?
The supplemental, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it was supplemental.
Oh, it's not till
Yeah.
5:30, okay.
Because it was March of 16 that it appears that he purchased
Yeah.
it. That would be the 15 supplemental.
Yes.
Someone get Sean back somehow. We have it's a call in.
I will text him.
He's coming. Here he comes.
Oh.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I apologize. I'm on the phone. I'm sitting in front of my laptop. I can't get into this meeting. It says launch meeting. I'm like totally, so excuse me, I'm a little nervous because I'm not a technical guy. I'm like totally freaking out, checking the, 86 consonants and numbers, trying, yep, that's right, that's right. Why aren't you launching? So I apologize.
No problem.
I'm a contractor. So.
Is this Mr. Bricky?
Yes, it is.
So Scott, we've got the three members of the board here. I'm Regina Pinn. Sean Burchell is chair of the board, and we've also got Lori Fernand.
Good evening.
We're on a little bit
Good evening, everybody.
We're on a little bit of a tight schedule, so we've got about 12 minutes per appeal. So I'm going to give you a quick oath, and then we're going to jump right in to hopefully you walking us through what we've got looking here. So.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. So floor is all yours to walk us through the 2016 Freightliner Columbia.
Okay. So in the winter of 2015, I approached Freightliner of Hartford, who's a local dealer, to consider updating one of our old dump trucks, or our only old dump truck. At that point, he informed me of a program that Congress had passed for tax relief for trucks over 33,000 gross vehicle weight for 5 years, and we ordered a truck. The truck is called a Glider, which is a brand new truck, complete from the Freightliner factory, except one item, and that's the rear axles. The rear suspension's there, it's just the rear axle. So this thing comes out like any other dump truck, frame, cab, tire, engine, everything is on board. Once the dealership gets it, then the dealership sends it to a truck body place, just like all your public works trucks, they come without the dump bodies, Mack and Freightliner and Ford, they don't make that stuff. They get that stuff on, all the rear lights, the mud flaps, everything else. They have DMV come in, certify the trucks that they're safe for, road, and then they get sold to, in this case, me. At the actual day of the delivery of the vehicle, which was March 16th in 2016, the dealership gave me the form to fill out called the M65. I filled it out in their office at Freightliner, got in my truck, literally drove to the assessor's office and said, here's the M65, here's a bunch of things stapled next to it, take whatever you need. I'm going to go back with another person so I can pick up the truck and get it. Everything went fine for 3 years. Commercial registrations require annual registrations. Obviously, DMV's tied in with the town, didn't expect a tax bill because I knew I had a 5-year relief, which was a big reason why we bought the truck. I mean, it's several thousands of dollars over 5 years. Until 3 years later, I receive a tax bill from the town of Bloomfield for this same truck. And I call up Bloomfield. I'm like, how did I get on your grand list? And they're like, well, I don't know. And after about a month or so, they call me and go, oh, Simsbury sent it up here. I'm like, well, why'd they do that? Now, I own a fuel oil company called Red Door Oil, totally different LLC, of which we do keep a truck in Bloomfield. So all I can think of is there was some confusion. Again, in the assessor's office, they never contacted me and questioned me about it. So I said, send it back to Simsbury, which they did. Simsbury calls me up and says, well, wait a second, we don't have your M65. I'm like, well, I dropped it off. I hand delivered it. In fact, the Post-it is still on the front. It was that important because it's about I'm going to say a $15,000 savings over 5 years. So she says, well, bring it down. I bring it down. I said, here, I gave this whole packet to the tax assessor because I don't know if you need other documentation, take whatever you want. So she made copies and then I get a bill and I'm like, well, what happened? She goes, well, the way we read this is a used truck. DMV had to certify it. It says, you had used components. I'm like, whoa, no. The only thing used on it are the rear axles, the dump body lights. Yes, DMV has to inspect it, just like they have to do every dump truck or any box truck. All your public works trucks go through the same cycle. And she said, well, the appeals board's going to have to decide that. Oh, and by the way, we're going to tax you for the last 2 years that we didn't have you on the grand list. And I'm like, what? So now I have this $6,000 tax bill. And I'm like, where do I go? She goes, tell it to the appeals board. And I actually called the president of Freightliner Hartford, and they go, you know what? We deliver hundreds of these things. We've never, ever once heard of this. Truck has a new VIN number, a new DOT number. It's all the paperwork shows it as a new vehicle on every piece of paperwork that they have. And so here we are. And I don't know what else to tell you.
I can certainly reason with you and understand how that might be frustrating. So I think you've given us quite a bit of information for us to kind of trace back and figure out where the discrepancy is, and hopefully we can make some corrections in your favor if the board.
I know, and I know it's confusing. And, I've been a resident in town here for 30 years, and we do a lot of work for the town of Simsbury, as a matter of fact. And they're a really good customer, highway department, everybody else. And I mean, this really came out of left field. And the fact we were on the grand list for 3 years, and DMV is tied in with obviously all the towns. I mean, we're able to, and I didn't expect the tax bill. Everything went smoothly until this little hiccup went. Again, I think it accidentally went to Bloomfield because they got it mixed up with a truck that we do, our oil truck that's up there, which is a different brand, but it's still a heavy truck. And then when it came back, it's like, well, wait a second, and I'm just like, kind of at a loss of words. I'm not trying to, and again, I'm sure that 5 years is probably up. I'm assuming this June 1st, this fiscal year, and I'm, more than happy to pay my taxes. I put a lot of kids through the school system, still have more coming through. So I get it. But, this was sort of the reason we decided to buy this truck, because of this program. And again, it's that first year, I never got a tax bill for the first 2 years, nor is Simsbury looking for it, even though it was still on their grand list. I'm guessing it's $3,500 just for that one truck for that 1 year. So, it was sort of the impetus of why we bought it and why Freightliner of Hartford explained, hey, you know what, here's this program that Congress passed, and you have a 5-year get out of jail free card. I'm like, hey, well, then that seals the deal. Let's do the deal.
Sure. That's no small potatoes. I definitely
Yeah.
understand where you're coming from.
Right,
Does the board
right.
have any other questions for Scott?
I was going to ask one, so the paperwork can't be found is where we're at here, Scott, is what you're saying, that because we can't find it in our offices and you
Yeah,
didn't
that's correct.
maintain a copy. Okay.
Well, I dropped off. I hand deliver everything. The tax department made the copies, gave me back my copies, and then I left. And I can remember 3 years went by of us re-registering the truck because commercials are every year. So obviously, whatever happened those first 3 years was on track, and we were able to register the tax town of Simsbury, clearly listed on all the documentation. It wasn't until it went to Bloomfield and then got kicked back that it was suddenly, well, we don't have that form. And I brought these same form down.
But you didn't get a copy for yourself to hold on to of that paperwork, it sounds like.
I do. I have a copy of the original form with the Post-it that's on the front of it that says hand delivered to the town of Simsbury, March 15th. Again, because it was such a big deal, I didn't mail it. I didn't take any chances. I'm like, and I joked with the dealership. I'm like, I am literally driving from the office of the dealership, which I did, and I am hand delivering this thing. And I have since given that same thing to them. Now, they didn't stamp it. They didn't give it back to me. They didn't do any of that. They just, they made copies and they gave it, because I don't think they see this form very often.
Did you submit a copy of this form, not to the tax office, but as part of this appeal?
You already have it, yes. Well, you know what? I did not, because the town, I already brought it to the tax department, and they took a copy. I didn't realize you needed yet another copy on top of what they already have.
I
thought that,
the putting my horse's blinders on, because Sean, Lori, and I are elected volunteers. So, we've got a packet that lists everything that was included with the appeal. And it looks like that paperwork, that NV paperwork, is not in here. So that feels like
I assumed that was part of your packet, because the tax did, again, this was, just a few months ago, they got this whole packet of which they took copies. So I assumed since they took copies, again, this was only a few months ago, took copies again, that got forwarded to you.
Okay. If
So
that-
they do have a copy.
Yeah, we will follow up with our team and make sure that we have that in front of us before we make any decisions on moving forward. So
Okay.
if there's no other questions.
I just had one other quick
Yeah,
question.
go ahead, Lori.
Because I know your estimated value of the truck, Scott, is 60,000, and we have
Correct,
it
yeah.
as current market value at 82,000 and almost 82.5. So I just wanted to get an idea of how you got to the 60,000.
Because these trucks end up going to auction, when they go, just like heavy equipment. So I look at those trader magazines and online just to see what our stuff is worth. And I'm not disputing the value because I know vehicles are by book value now. And if that's what it is, that's what it is. That is not, that's sort of out of my control. And I know most people are saying, well, geez, I own this 1938 Model A that's only worth, $5. I'm not disputing that value. If the book says it's worth 82, it's like, any other truck or vehicle that we own, it is what it is. That's not what I'm coming to the board for.
Okay.
So
All right,
when this
thank
does get activated, in June, and I don't know if that follows the fiscal year, when this does go back onto the grand list, or hopefully, because my 5-year exemption is over, if it's 82, it's 82. I'm not going to dispute that.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. That was helpful.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Scott, the board will mail you a letter with our decision. All right?
Okay. And I just want to say, I know it's a thankless job. It's 5:45. I've already run over by 2 minutes. Again, I know a lot of people in town and we do a lot of work. You're a great customer, and I do appreciate the effort you're going through. So
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Scott.
hopefully your docket is easier than mine. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. I'm just going to step away briefly because I think, do we have a moment here?
That was the timer for the 12 minutes. So you've got what, two, yeah.
That's all I need. Thanks.
Yep. The next appellant has 2 vehicles, by the way, 2 separate vehicles.
Regina, I know you love the cars.
Love them. Data tables.
Give me all the houses. You can have the cars.
Okay. Whew. Oh, excuse me. Yikes.
How you feeling, Lori?
I've got a little bit of a headache and feel a little warm, but I'm okay. I think I'm more tired just from life generally than the vaccine.
I do hear that the headache is part of the side effects.
Yeah, so I might run and grab some aspirin a little later.
Was
You
it
drink a lot of water.
I am. That's why I had to pause.
Was it? Did you say it was the first one or you got the Johnson & Johnson?
I got the second one today, Pfizer.
Okay, that's what I got.
Oh.
Your arm is gonna hurt. Sleep on the other side.
Well, regretfully, like I bumped into doing yard work, so I've got a bruise on the right and the shot on the left. So I'm sleeping on my back.
It's getting cold in here.
We have, I believe, our next opponent. It looks like it's also a call-in.
Hello?
Yes,
Hi, is this Mike?
yes, it is.
Hi, you're talking to the members of the board. I'm Regina Pinn. We've got Sean Bertel, who's the chair of the board, and then also Lori Fernand.
Good evening.
I'm gonna,
Well, you know, I didn't know anything. I've never done a Zoom meeting, and I'm down here to the town hall, and the police department tells me that there's nobody here. They told me to dial this Zoom number. I've never Zoomed anything in my life.
well, we're happy to be part of that experience with you.
Well, I'm not.
I'm very sorry that you had to go all the way down to the police station to find out this was on Zoom. If you don't mind, I'm going to start with a quick oath to give you, and then we're on a bit of a tight schedule with folks, so we're trying to give people about 12 minutes to get through the appeal. So let's get started. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Great. Which vehicle do you want to get started on?
Well, the first one, according to this, is the Oshkosh, right?
Great.
Or no, it's the Ford Explorer.
Yeah, whichever you want. We've got both packets. So,
All right.
if we're starting with the Ford, you want to walk us through the basis for the appeal?
Sure. All right. What is that?
Just the thought process behind why you think the assessment you were given is overvaluing the value of the car.
Okay. Well, first of all, you can't even find it on the Blue Book. It's 20 years old. It's pushing 200,000 miles. It's rotted out. I mean, I keep the thing going on the last legs, okay, because I use it as a parts chaser. You know, and I've asked people. Of course, you can't get any dealers to go ahead, and because it's just too old. And you know, that's why I'm pushing down there. I couldn't get $500 to it on the street.
Gotcha. So we've got a mileage reported in of 198,000 miles as of when the assessment was. So that would have been about October.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, it's pushing 200,000 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's 20 years old. I mean, and they get the thing down here at what, $2,800 or whatever it is.
Yeah, and so the way, just because, and pardon me if you know this, some folks come to the appeals and they don't know how the numbers are come up with. There's a book, it's called the NADA book, kind of like Kelly Blue Book, right? Same idea. what's the model, what's the year, and then adjustments based on how much mileage that vehicle has compared to other vehicles that are that age. So based on the information you've given us, it does look like the vehicle has a higher amount of mileage than an average vehicle of that age. It does not look like it brings it close to the about $500 you've got listed here. Is there any other evidence you want to share with us that needs to be considered when looking at this vehicle?
Yeah, come on out into the parking lot at the town hall and take a look at the rod in it.
And can you describe that for us some, Michael?
The rocker panels, the rear wheel wells. Let's see, what else? The air conditioner doesn't work. What else? The floorboards. This is ridiculous. The last time I had something like that, the assessor actually come out when I had it on my pickup truck. They came down and took a look at it. And I know you can't do that with Zoom. All right.
Gotcha. And we apologize because we're unable to do that because of COVID now. That's why we're meeting virtually, and it isn't as pleasant an experience for everyone. So apologies for that. But thank you for the description. That's helpful to know.
All right. You want to go on to the other one? Seeing we got nowhere there.
Sure, I will say this though, and I know it's another level of technical difficulty. But there is a way to do Zoom on your phone, or to take pictures and get them shared over to us. If you were able to do that, we'd be happy to look at that. That is a normal part of doing an assessment appeal for a vehicle.
Yeah. Well, I'm still operating on a flip phone, so I can't do that.
Well, maybe not. Okay.
Now the other one, this Oshkosh, I have a letter here. From Freightliner of Hartford. Now, Freightliner of Hartford is the people that just sold the Public Works 2 new dump trucks, and I had them assess it. Okay, and obviously you can't see that, but I have a letter here from Freightliner of Hartford, respected by the salesman that sold the town of Simsbury the last 2 dump trucks, Greg Maganotti, with a years of experience. We valued it at $4,500, and that's even lower than what I had. But I don't know how I'm going to submit this so you can read it.
I'm wondering through the paperwork we've got.
I'm wondering what this was priced at last year for tax purposes. Yeah.
So do you have any records on the purchase price of the vehicle?
Pardon?
The purchase price when you purchased the vehicle?
Yeah. Well, I don't have that with me. No, I got the appraisal from what the unit was, what is appraised at now, or what's it saying? The unit. Let's see. So the value of the unit.
So what's challenging is we do have to base the value that we're using for these tax purposes, again, to try to keep things as equitable as possible. We do have to base it on the.
Where did you get the number that you got on there now? Because that's nowhere near what I paid for it. Where did that number come from?
So the VIN for a vehicle has in it information about what the vehicle is, so model and year, and the major trim levels. So that information, which obviously the DMV has, that's what the towns use as their first pass at what's the fair assessment for a vehicle. And then we have, in appeals like this, we take into account things that wouldn't be reflected on just the VIN number. So high mileage, like we were talking about, just a minute ago, if there was major damage to a vehicle. That's how we close the gap between what the bills of the vehicle is and then its real condition.
Yep. All right. So do you want to look at this appraisal that I had? That's all I have to offer.
Okay.
Yes or no?
Well,
I mean,
what we'll do is we'll talk to the board and see if we can't find a way to get that incorporated into the record for our review. And then we'll table it for a decision once we have that paperwork. Does that sound good to you?
okay. Sounds great. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can do that.
If you can bring that in this week before Saturday, because Saturday will be our, we should be doing our final decisions, I guess. So,
oh yeah, we only have 2 hearings this session. Okay.
So if you could bring that in over the next couple of days, and also I'm thinking if
We can
you had
contact
more-
him.
Okay.
The office, Jennifer,
Yeah.
can contact him.
Yep.
And he can drop it off at the office.
Yep.
And they can scan it in and email it to you guys as a, document.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And we do have Mr. Patricelli for Folly Farm in the waiting room. Everyone ready?
Great.
Yep.
Hello.
I think he's still connecting.
Hey,
Mr.
Robert, can you hear us?
I can.
Great.
I'm going to give you a quick oath, and then we'll jump right into it. We've got about 12 minutes to get through the whole thing. So, do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. Do you want to walk us through what we've got with the appeal?
Sure. You have my letter of March 9?
Yes.
So that's basically it. I think I understand the assessor's office got something that was stamped on November 4, but I had mailed it promptly on the Monday, November 2nd, and it got sent to Hartford, and you've got all the recitation there. I think really, honestly, what happened is I mailed it on the worst day possible, which was in the middle of COVID and the election kerfuffles going on, and it all got delayed. So it didn't get postmarked for 2 days. I have to say to you as well, if I may make a personal statement, that this feels like a kind of a sharp stick in the eye from the town, because we subsidize tens of thousands of dollars a year to keep Folly Farm going and to keep the pretty horse operation in view for everybody as you come down the hill every day from Hartford. And this kind of a clerical rejection that could cost us thousands of dollars just seems like it's not respectful of what we've tried to do for decades now for the town. So in any case, I ask you to understand the apparent reasons for the delay in postmarking and to allow me to take the exemption as indicated in my letter.
As far as exemption, you're talking about number 2.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Can you talk a bit about that? Because I'm not familiar with the $100,000 exemption and the M28, Form M28. Could you walk us through that?
Well, I'm not sure I'm tremendously capable of doing that, but you have that form in front of you. It was part of my return.
Mm-hmm.
This is an application for exemption on all farm machinery, ponies and horses. So it's a $100,000 exemption, as you see at the top, which we have historically been able to take advantage of. My attachment there showed the horse piece of it. As I understand it, it was all rejected. So I can't think of any other reason why my assessment would have been so different from one year to the next.
Can I ask you, because it's really hard for us to read the M28 piece. When you've handed that in the past to us, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Every year.
And with that, do you generally have it notarized? Because I think one of the concerns is this year it was not notarized. Bless you, Regina.
I don't see that the M28 calls for a notarization.
Okay. So you haven't been notarizing it in the past?
Well, I can look right now at
oh, perfect.
Past filings. I'm sitting at my desk. Let's see.
Thank you.
I'll ask a quick question of the staff team that we've got on the call. I know I see some notes here, and I know notarization waiving was some part of the COVID items last year. At the point that this, that early November period, what was the status of this needing to be notarized?
It was the notarization, like you said, was an executive order that was suspended. So if it was received on time, not notarized, the exemption would have been provided. So that was not the case because, yes, that was removed.
Okay.
So it was based on, again, statute-wise being the date that we received it and not having been postmarked by the post office. Unfortunately.
I see that I was mistaken. That is at the bottom of that sheet, and it's unnotarized. I have in front of me my 2018 declaration. I submitted that without notarization and it was accepted.
Okay. And part of the conversation we were just having was saying that the notarizations were exempted due to COVID,
Yeah.
I believe, probably by executive order. So that's not a challenge. All right. Okay. I don't have any additional questions.
Regina, any questions for you?
No questions for me.
Okay, thank you for taking the time to join us tonight. We are going to go over the paperwork you submitted, and we will notify you via mail, hopefully postmarked pretty quickly, and get that out to you. All right?
Thank you for doing this, and I know your remuneration is not large for taking on this volunteer task, so it's appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Yep, you bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So again, statutorily, we were not able to provide the exemption based on the fact, of the time received. Therefore, we, in speaking with him, I told him he could go to the Board of Assessment Appeals.
Because we can do that.
We have to do that.
Yeah.
Seems easy.
Okay. All right.
I don't think Francine heard your subsequent question, so I'm asking her to unmute.
I'm sorry, what was that now?
I was just saying we are able to do that though, to accept it.
In
even
this
though-
case, this is a case that the board can make a decision on, yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Somebody hungry? At your house, Sean?
Oh, do you hear him whining?
Yeah.
He always whines.
Oh, I don't mean to keep yawning.
Well, I guess, do we want to just handle the Folly Farm one while we're waiting for?
Okay.
That's a good idea.
So I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but we just want to reinstate the exemption.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Who said yes?
And if we do that,
Both of us.
just trying to make sure so on the item codes, I see code 11, 16, 17, 18, 23. I know 25 is the penalty one. Do all 5 of those other codes cover items that are actually covered by this exemption, the farm machinery, horses, or ponies? I think
I'm waiting to see if Francine said she had to take a quick break.
I'm back.
Oh, she's
I'm back. I'm back.
sorry, Francine.
We're discussing
What are we-
Folly Farm.
Oh, okay. All right. And what's the question?
So looking at the property declaration summary,
Mm-hmm.
so I know code 25 is the penalty. Are all the
So-
other codes things that are covered by this exemption if it was reinstated?
I believe what the board would be doing on this is determining the declaration having been received on timely. So that would remove the penalty. And then that would also make code 17 exempt. And let me take a look at the declaration here. What else got?
I believe we exempted a portion for the horses and ponies, Francine.
Well, that's under a different code. That was already, that was, yeah, that's not part of the, that exemption form. The M23 is for machinery and equipment that a farm uses. That's exempted. So it would be to exempt, yeah, code 17 and remove the penalty.
Okay.
And I believe the rest has been done as in prior years, just handled the same way, if I recall correctly. I know there's some notes there.
So and correct me if this is wrong, can we just make a motion that receive the paperwork as prior to deadline? Or do we have to actually go it by item code number?
No, it would be to determine that the declaration was timely filed.
Yes.
Therefore, that would make him eligible for that exemption. And it would automatically remove the penalty. Because the penalty is based on it having been filed late. And that's the whole.
Can that be our whole motion, or do we need to go through and?
No, that would be suffice to correct this.
I'm happy to make that motion if no one else wants the pleasure.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Lori, did you understand all that? I know I see you
Yes.
typing way over there.
Well, one thing that I was wondering is just what the actual net assessment is then, because do we just take 100,000 off of the current net? Or do we take 100,000 off of the gross and then minus 7,100 in exemptions that exist to get there? I'm wondering what our final number is.
You, at this point, if the motion is to consider this declaration having been filed timely, would correct both issues, would give him the exemption that he's allowed and remove the penalty. So I believe the motion that the board needs to do on this is to consider his personal property if that's what you're doing, because that is the issue here. Is he lost the exemption and was penalized because his declaration was determined to have been filed late. Okay.
So how my motion reads is motion to accept the paperwork as filed timely, removing the penalty and allowing the M28 exemption.
Yes, and it's the through my is this here? Of course, it's the last one.
M28,
Yes.
just hard to read.
Yes. Yeah, that's the way it came in. Unfortunately, it was received that way. So yes, that is the case.
Okay, so Regina, okay.
And if I will go right in the system right now and put that in and see what we get here.
And then we do have appellants in the waiting room.
I think we're good, right? We can move along.
Yep. I'm letting in a phone number. I don't know who it is. So you'll have to find out. We have 2 left. Bazo Antiques is the next one up. So if it's not them, we'll put them back in the waiting room and handle the other person, okay?
Sounds good. Hi, who's on the line?
This is Elliot Pollock.
Hi, Elliot. You are going to be our next person, but we've actually got one person before you, so apologies. We're going to send you back to the waiting room so we can get our 6:15 out of the way.
All right, I'll stand by.
Thank you.
Yeah.
50-50 shot.
Yeah.
Hi, who's on the line? Hi, we can see a name, Christina, but we're not able to hear any audio or see video. Hi. Ooh, almost. I amend my earlier statement. I'll like these when the technology is usable for everyone.
Okay, so this is Jim Gazzo. Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, we can.
Hello.
Thanks for calling in.
Okay, sorry about that. This first conference call for me. I'm old school.
No problem, no problem. We've got here the 3 members of the board. I'm Regina Pinn. We've got Sean Bertel, who's the chair of the board, and also Lori Fernand. I'm going to start with a quick oath. And then we've got, about 12 minutes to try to get through the appeal. So we'll jump right into it after that and let you walk us through the basis for the appeal. So
Okay.
Here's the oath. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Great. So what do we got? Jim, do you want to walk us through the basis of the appeal?
Well, I guess. I mean, I guess I'm just not in agreement with the amount that it was raised to. Basically, I haven't dealt with the taxes. It's my wife, and basically what she told me was that she was told you don't have to file this every year as long as nothing's changed. And I mean, I run a furniture repair business where I'm in my 50s. All this stuff is nothing really changed. I use hand tools. I'm in basically a home-based business, so we haven't really added anything. I don't even have a computer in my shop. So nothing's really changed over all these years. I have just basic stuff that I use and just kind of a artisan craftsman, and it's a lot of handwork. So I really don't have much to add for tax purposes. It's mostly just dated equipment, what little bit we do have.
Did you file for last year then, sir?
I can't be sure. You know, again, my wife handles the bookkeeping and everything. And when I asked her about it, that was, you know, that's what she said was she was told that she didn't have to.
So you do have to do it every year, just for
Okay.
reference, let her know.
I think the way that it was told to her, or so she says to me, was that if nothing changes, then you don't have to. So that may have been her, you know, her interpretation of whatever conversation she had.
Understandable.
Got it.
All right, well, good to know going forward to do this every year. So I know you listed tools and furniture, fixtures and equipment in the back and average supplies. And I'm thinking,
What sort of things are counted in the average supplies, if just as some examples?
Sandpaper, stain, lacquer, varnish, stuff like that.
Okay, so those sort of consumable sort of things.
Yeah, stuff
Okay.
that kind of just goes into individual projects.
Sure.
So I think the most important thing is make sure you're doing this every year, because failure to do so does incur a penalty. And unfortunately, there's not much we can do about that penalty. So make sure you are doing this. I think we have some, you know, what you use, and we understand that probably most of it has depreciated. So hopefully we can use those numbers to come up with an accurate portrayal of the personal property.
Okay.
I think, does Lori or Regina, do you guys have any additional questions?
no.
No, we're good.
No.
Okay, Jim,
Okay.
so we will make a decision and let you know in the mail, all right?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep. Bye.
Okay, let's see what that is. I don't know what that does if people don't apply for municipal, for tax purposes, how that impacts federal taxes. I don't know.
I just feel bad people paying this, you know, even if your tax bill isn't too high for you, you know, you're paying this penalty and you don't even know it, you know what I mean? So,
Are we ready for
Oh,
Mr.
yep.
This is our DWW Solar. Yes?
yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hi, Elliot.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Thanks. We finished with our last person, so you're up. Here on the phone, we've got the whole three person board. I'm Regina Pinn. We've got Sean Bertel, who is our chairperson, and also Lori Fernand. And then we've also got the assessor and key staff members from the town on. They're on mute. They're there if we've got any questions. So I'll start with the oath, and then we'll get right into it.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I certainly do.
Great. So you want to walk us through what we've got with the appeal?
Yes. this deals with personal property. And just to give
Yep.
put a general characterization on it, it's the solar farm, machinery and equipment on Hoskins Road. The assessor notified us of a market value of $34,700,000 in round numbers when she issued her notice of assessment on February 24th. We had submitted a personal property declaration last fall to the assessor, which completed the form as requested, but also included an appraisal of these items. And that appraisal was conducted by an independent fee appraiser named Federal Appraisal. It's attached to the declaration. I'm guessing that you have that in your package.
Yes.
And the market value that was determined by the appraiser as of October 1, 2020 was $19,500,000, or about almost 16 million below what the assessor had notified us of. And so we appealed to the board. The appeal was filed last March. And in that appeal, we referred the members of the board to our declaration and to our appraisal. We have no idea why the assessor reached the value she did. We've not received an explanation from her. We're not aware of any appraisal that the town of Simsbury has commissioned or any other indication of market value. And as you know, market value is the test. So I'm here appealing the assessor's decision. Believe that our appraisal is competent, well prepared. Haven't heard anything that would suggest otherwise, although I'd be glad to entertain any comments from anybody tonight. So under the circumstances, it would seem to me that all you have in front of you is evidence from the property owner, no evidence from the assessor. And therefore, with all due respect, you should reduce the value of the assessor has determined to the value determined by our appraiser, which is $19,500,000. The appraisal is a voluminous document. I don't know that you want to hear me drone through it. And I assume, hopefully, you have a chance to take a look at it before we got together. And so I'll stop right there to see if there are any questions or if I can elaborate on any of the points that I've made so far.
It's a pretty big document, so I've gone through it a couple of times. I don't have any questions at this time. Lori or Regina, do either of you have questions?
I did have a question, because does that 19,500,000, does that include the federal? I believe there's a $10 million federal exemption. Is that included?
Are you referring to the investment tax credit?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
So
let me explain that a little, if I may explain that, if you'd like to hear a little bit about that.
Well, I guess I have one question regarding that is, since it's federal, is it supposed to be applied to municipal?
Okay, well, that's a very quick question, but it's going to require a somewhat longer answer. Please bear with me.
Okay.
Connecticut says that you value all property, real and personal, based on market value. And market value is the standard definition of that is what a reasonable buyer would pay to a reasonable seller, both being appropriately informed about the factors that pertain to the asset that they're negotiating to buy and sell. Now, solar energy, as you probably know to some degree, is coming into its own gradually, but it's still heavily dependent on tax benefits that are available from the federal government. And without those tax benefits, I think it's pretty common knowledge, you wouldn't have the kinds of solar arrays that we're dealing with here. They don't generate enough money to justify the gross cost that is involved in getting them up and running. They do start to justify the cost associated with the gross cost less the investment tax credit. Now, investment tax credit is not a deduction. It's a credit against against income taxes. So the developers of these solar facilities are told by the federal government, since we want to get green, since we want to reduce greenhouse gases and air pollution, and we don't want the world to die sooner than later, please go out and start generating electricity from solar, non-carbon producing light. And so developers all around the country in areas where you can put these solar farms up are building them because they get, after the tax credit, they can make a profit. Now, a tax credit is a dollar for dollar deduction against income taxes. It's not a deduction from income, it's a deduction from taxes. So what happens is that when you invest X dollars in building a solar farm, and let's say have about 1/3 of that recognized as a form of tax credits, you can sell those off and recover the money that they generate, thereby reducing your overall cost for producing, for developing the solar farm to a number that's net of the investment tax credit. So, and this happens in lots of different areas in our society, but in the area of solar energy and so electricity generated by solar, it's the key to getting these solar farms going, and it's the key as a national policy initiative of bringing down the cost of solar panels and the overall cost of generating electricity through solar power. So yes, if you look at the appraisal, and I agree with the gentleman who said that it is a lengthy document. Unfortunately, these appraisal reports tend to be pretty lengthy because the appraisers have a lot to say. And there were lots of pictures too, by the way. The appraiser says, look, from the cost involved in generating, in developing this facility, you must deduct the investment tax credit because that's a way of recovering your cost. You sell off the tax credits and you get the cash, which reduces your going in cost to create the solar facility.
Pardon me, but you just said that the tax credit is a tax credit on the income that comes in from the farm. Fine. This is a personal property-based tax conversation, though. So I think that may have been the heart of Lori's question: is how valid and in place and great income tax credit granted by the federal government, clear, doesn't quite seem to be part of this conversation we're having, which is strictly about the personal property, so equipment and improvements on the land at the physical location. Can you walk us through that piece of it?
Sure, absolutely. The tax credit is a fungible right. The tax credit can either be used by the developer in this case, or it can be sold to someone else. And to the best of my knowledge, that's exactly what happened here. You sell the tax credit to a bank or to someone else who has a lot of income taxes to pay, and they use those tax credits to reduce dollar for dollar their income tax obligation. So yes, we're dealing with personal property, but the assessor appears to me to have relied heavily on the cost associated with producing this solar farm without taking into account the fact that the tax credit reduces the cost by about $11.5 million.
Was the tax credit applied last year, out of curiosity?
It was.
To the municipal taxes?
To the assessment.
Okay.
The assessment last year on the 19 grand list was 15 million.
Is it just me, or are you guys having trouble hearing him?
I can hear okay.
I can hear him.
Let me get closer to the phone. Can you hear me better now?
That's better. Yes, thank you.
All right. Sorry about that. So the assessor valued the personal property that we're talking about here at a market value of 22,500,000. Translates to an assessment of 15,700,000 on the 19 grand list, and then on the 20 grand list jumped it to 34 million, which is just about the amount of the tax credit plus some additional equipment that was added after the October 1, 19 grand list was signed, or after the October 1 date, I should say. So you're absolutely right, ma'am, that we're dealing with personal property here. But when you're valuing personal property using the cost approach, which this is brand new stuff, so it's logical to think of that as an appropriate methodology to use, you can't ignore the fact that it wouldn't exist. It wouldn't exist but for the tax credit, because what the federal government says to the developer is, okay, you go out and spend X dollars. We're going to then enable you to compute the tax credit that you would be entitled to here, but you can then take that tax credit and sell that to third parties, and then by getting that cash.
I think we all understand the tax credit. What I'm looking for that I don't see, and obviously it's not like there's a lot of these in Connecticut or New England. I'm looking for something that shows that this similar process was used in taxing or evaluating another solar farm. And I don't see anything in your any paperwork showing any sort of comparison. I think there's one in New Hampshire, which probably obviously doesn't have, but I think it does have a different tax. Is there anything you can share, Elliot, related to that?
Well, I first of all, I'm reluctant to go outside of Connecticut for just about any reason, because you've got to start making some legal comparisons before you make some factual and financial comparisons. Secondly,
I understand that there's going to be a little bit of difference, but I think this is all new, obviously, to us on how these huge solar farms are going to be taxed. I mean, obviously, the benefit for the town is the personal property tax that we're going to get from it. So, I'm not sure we're jumping right down, start writing down when it's probably barely powered enough to charge my watch. So, I mean that jokingly, but do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Well, I think you're asking, are there other solar farms in Connecticut?
No,
and number one,
because this was cited by the whole all of New England. So, I think it's fair to go outside of Connecticut to find a comparison.
we did not go. I shouldn't say we. I don't want to double check this, but I do not believe that the appraiser went outside of Connecticut to see how other assessors are valuing these facilities. And I, quite frankly, I think we're bound by Connecticut law.
Okay.
And
Maybe that's
sorry.
All right. I don't have any further questions. Lori, Regina, do either of you have any additional questions for?
I just have one other quick one, because it seemed like in looking at assessing it, one piece was sort of cost of replacement for the personal property. And then another part of the conversation was about income. And so I wasn't quite sure in reading the document, was one of those ways of assessing weighted heavier than the other, or were both used by the person making the assessment?
That's a fair question. The appraiser, I just want to refresh my recollection on this one. The appraiser used the cost approach and the income approach to determine the market value of the facility, of the personal property, sorry, because the land is not, land is assessed separately. And so as you take a look at the appraisal report, I want to get you a page reference, so if you bear with me for a second here. The cost methodology is developed starting at page 30 of the appraisal report. The appraiser specifically says at the bottom of page 9, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
The appraiser says specifically at the bottom of page 29 of the report that we attempted to find data on sales of other similar solar plants and analyze these sales data to draw conclusions of value. We have not, and then it goes on to say, I don't want to read the whole thing, that it wasn't able to find data to be able to employ that approach. So he did not use the sales approach, and not surprisingly, because these facilities are still so new that I wonder if many have been sold. He does use the two other recognized approaches, the cost and the income approach. Not the cost approach is relied on most strongly, I would say. The gentleman who suggested looking at what other assessors do is, I mean, that's certainly something that would be of interest, but I can't believe that it would have any bearing on this mission, because if other assessors get it wrong, that doesn't entitle us to get it wrong here. And if other assessors get it right, as far as the property owner is concerned, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're bound by whatever the other assessors do anyway. It's interesting, but it doesn't have any binding effect on the assessor of the town of Simsbury. I think what you are obliged to do under law in Connecticut is to determine market value. And I think we have met the burden of establishing what market value is, especially since we don't have any information to the contrary from the assessor. And, this matter has been, this is not, I think it's too much to say, really, that the assessor got this declaration back in the fall, and so had a number of months to consult with appraisers to determine, even without getting a report the size of this thing, to consult with appraisers to determine, well, what do you think this is worth, just on the back of an envelope, maybe even just give me a ballpark idea of what this is. And if she did it, it's certainly not something that has been made known to us and has not come to our attention. So that's where we are. And
I'm sorry, go right ahead.
No, I'm just saying that I know you have this is a complicated matter. I'm not trying to minimize the responsibility you have or the burden on you to deal with a complex situation, but we really can boil it down to something fairly elementary, which is the property owner filed in October 30, whatever it was, November 1st, a declaration of personal property. The assessor on February 24th rejected that value and came up with a value that was $16 million higher, $15 million higher, and hasn't told us why. And if it's the investment tax credit, I just find there's no reason to reject the deduction of the investment tax credit, because it's obviously reduces your costs. If the federal government says, here, go out and get $11 million because you built this, and only because you built this, and that reduces your cost, well, then your cost is $11 million less just by pure math. So, in any event,
I think we're just about out of time here. So, Lori, I don't know if you've got any more questions. I don't think I do.
I actually do not, and appreciate you coming and speaking with us, Elliot, because this is obviously, complicated process. And as you also mentioned, the newness of solar farms themselves. So we appreciate your time here tonight, and we'll be making a decision, and you'll get a letter within a week of that decision.
Well, look, I appreciate you're a citizen, board members. I realize you're not in this for the money, you're in this for public service. I appreciate your time and attention, and don't wish to minimize at all the difficulty of this, but hopefully I've been able to boil it down to the essentials. Thank you for your attention.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. And I'm thinking Sean's going to be back in a moment here. Oh, there he is. Great.
I bet he timed that. That's too convenient.
I think his computer died last time too.
My family loves me. They bought me dinner.
Nice.
I'm here.
Hi, Sean.
No
All right, so we completed that.
No, let me give Sean a hard time. Sean, you resolved your computer issues just as we finished up the last person. That can't be a coincidence.
We do not have video for you, Sean.
Yeah. Should be coming. Maybe.
You guys want to take a 5-minute leg stretch and then get into it?
Yeah.
Okie doke.
So back at 6:50-ish.
Back at 6:50-ish.
Yes, please.
Okay.
So just Regina.
Yes.
The phones are now being forwarded to you in case somebody tries calling in late. FYI. And unfortunately, they will be forwarded to you until 7:30 tomorrow morning. Didn't need to make you choke.
I burped in surprise there. Okay.
Makes being secretary sound great.
I know.
No one's
Hopefully there
calling
won't be
me.
any calls, but we do occasionally get the late night calls where they think they can call anytime. So,
All right.
we've been assured that
They call after 8. I'm going to put the 2-year-old on.
there you go. They should all be coming through forwarded from 658 number though.
Okay, that's good to know. We did pretty good. We only had 1 no-show.
Yeah. I was surprised they didn't because I actually spoke with him. We did have some trouble with people getting their messages. We have added layers of security.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, so we had to do a lot of phone calls and stress to people, watch your junk box.
Yeah. Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, and perhaps he just decided not to appear or something happened. I don't know. But when then one after that was a little slow on the uptake, I was like, oh boy. So we lost Sean again, it seems.
Remind me, you guys know me, I say the same thing in public session as private, but are we still streaming?
Yes, we will be streaming until we are done.
Okay, I apologize to the public for watching me eat pizza, but I'm very hungry right now.
Well, I got my Twizzlers.
Oh, there we go. Yep. You can in a ladylike way nibble on Twizzlers though, in a way that like, if you're enjoying your pizza, you just can't.
I'm doing waffles after we get done.
Have the timing restraint at the beginning. I think that was helpful.
Yeah.
Keep it so it moves along.
I like that.
Keep that in
I did like that. That may be something we want to kind of, because we have the same timing constraints when we meet in person, right?
Yes,
we don't actually have 20 minutes to spend on every person.
No, we usually allot 15. I think the most we've ever allotted would have been 20.
Yeah. I was expecting some people to get a little defensive at that, and everyone seemed to be like, all right, yeah.
Yeah. Where is Sean? We already used the excuse that the computer died. So.
Has to feed the dogs.
Maybe if he calls in, like if his computer's that screwed up.
I don't know. Or maybe he shut down and is going to dial in again.
Excuse me.
Last time I ate pizza in a meeting, I had 2 slices, but I ate them with a knife and fork. And I swear it seemed like just because sometimes it was just easier, but it was like I was eating for 45 minutes. It seemed so it just looked like I was just eating and eating and eating, but it was only 2 slices.
Lori, and I say this with love, that's the most Connecticut phrase you've ever uttered.
That I ate it with a knife and fork?
Ate it with a knife and fork.
Yeah.
As a native New Yorker, I'm a little offended at that, but I respect your people and your culture.
Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes it's just too messy. Yeah, yeah.
You're using napkins.
Mhm, I do like napkins.
Well, I don't know if Francine is on, but I'm hoping she gets back because I'm having more technical difficulties with my laptop. I'm unable to get onto our VPN. So if you have any questions of reference, she is going to have to be providing them to you. I've
Okay.
rebooted 3 times to no success, so
Okay.
I'll be bringing it to the office tomorrow with me.
I'm actually just doing a couple work things as we're chatting.
Video wasn't working, so Sean rebooted. Oh, there he is.
Hey guys, sorry about that.
Hello.
You should have said 15 minutes, more reasonable maybe. Okay. You're all on.
Okey doke. So we did Giantonio. We're all set there.
All right, I'm back.
Francine, I am not
Yes.
able to get through on my VPN, so any admin stuff I can't look up for you.
Okay, I'll stay alert to open any discussion or questions. I'll mute myself until then.
Yep.
Okay, so Giantonio, we're all set. We just discussed that. Interior is complete, never showed. Mr. Molshine, I'm prepared if you guys are to make no action on these based on his testimony. Are you guys okay? You guys are in agreement on that?
All right.
So-
I'm just wondering, so we probably should be doing them both
Yep, we'll do them
separately, one
separately.
house, one work. Okay.
Yep.
So,
Unique ID 307-13606. Motion to take no action. Do I have a second? Regina, you're
I'll
muted.
second.
Sorry there.
Okay.
Take
All
no
in favor?
action.
Aye.
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 Okay. Unique ID 418-3220. Motion take no action. Can I have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oops. Okay. And we're on to Jose Del Castillo. And I was just gonna say, since I did visit that house, like it was in really, really rough shape.
I know
And
that house.
you do? Yeah. Did you know the folks that used to live there?
No, but I saw it for sale forever. Yeah, I mean, it is, you know, like I mentioned, they're definitely improving it. So I think it's something we'll have to revisit down the road. I'm assuming they'll be applying for some permits anyway, so I would guess that our team will be in there. So, you know, unless you guys, I'm not opposed to the purchase price unless you guys have any other thoughts on that.
The purchase price, because the purchase price was auction. I don't think, does that count as, I was gonna more suggest with the square footage amount, no?
But the square footage, you're not taking into account that there's no boiler, there's no heat.
Oh, you're
probably all
right.
the Pipes are burst, you know what I mean? So square footage unheated, honestly, they don't even have I'm surprised it even has a CO to live there. But I'm guessing the town probably doesn't really know that there's no heat there, so. Auction, honestly, it doesn't, it's just, I see it all the time.
Yeah.
It's a foreclosure. I actually looked it up. The previous owner took a reverse mortgage out for like $580,000. So they knew the place was probably worth nothing too.
Wow.
They didn't even care. They took the money.
If
All
those
the bank had
properties
to
could
ask.
talk.
Incredible. I'm okay with 220. The only thing I'm wondering is, next year it'll be worth more because of the work they're doing on it, and the reval won't happen until the following year. So do we want to play with that 220 just a little bit, to 250, or I mean, I don't know. I'm just,
Well, they're gonna have, I would guess that they have open permits that will get added to here as the work is completed. Which will-
okay. So that'll address that. Okay.
Francine, is that correct?
There should be permits. There are no permits currently.
Gotcha.
None have been taken so far.
So, I mean, I'm willing to, 220 is definitely on the low end of what it would be, but the place is, I'm sure all the neighbors are excited to see some life in that house again. So.
Yeah. Well, even the back,
Yeah.
one corner of the house is like 10 feet away from the wetlands, and it's totally flat with the wetlands, the backyard. So it's just, it will be pretty when it's done, but it does need a lot of work.
So the 220, if I look at that, the 220, because he did say the land, he had no argument with the land value, which is 142,420. That's the full appraised value. At 220, that makes the building at 77,580.
So, okay. That's definitely low.
So I can, if he said if you want me to change the condition of what we have and tell you, what that gives, because he did mention condition, I can do that. I'm in the camera system right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you put overall condition as 4.
Whatever the lowest is.
Yeah.
Right. So we currently have it in average condition for a 75.
Yeah.
If we change that to poor condition, it's a class 9 at this point. That gives us a building value of 171,429.
Which is
Then
what's the
that
total value become?
there's some outbuildings too. Did he mention if the outbuildings were still there on the property?
I didn't see any outbuildings when I was there. I saw the pool, but that
There's a pad.
is-
Okay, we had a patio, paver patio.
The backyard, I'm not even remembering a
So which is
patio, but it
yeah,
was
okay.
all in the deck. As he mentioned, some of the floor planks are missing. I mean, I wouldn't even walk on that. The stone steps they have will need to be totally replaced. It was in pretty rough shape.
Let me go back to, yeah, so I have it in poor condition right now. And that is the lowest. Let me just check. I just want to verify one other thing. All right, so we have it as a grade 9 and there's no other, plus grade factor on this one. So that's not a, so that puts it as for effective year. I'm looking at like it was built in 1953. It brings it down to that for as an effective year. Because when we play with the condition, it either lowers it, the effective year built, or increases it, depending on what's condition. This house is built in 75. By putting it in a poor condition, it's bringing us down to like a effective year of 1953.
What does that total market number come to?
With the land, it brings us to 316, 568. That's not the 70%. So that's, full appraised.
Can I just, since he said half of the land was wetlands, does that, I don't know if that's reflected on here or if that.
No,
would
there's
also-
there's no notation of any wetlands on here.
Really?
Description, corrected acreage, pool removed. No, there's no adjustment for that. There's, I don't think it was ever noted or even brought up. I don't know if there's any other houses on this. I'm just going to go in real quickly here and check on Saddle Ridge if we have any other ones. But again, he had no argument with the land value.
I'm thinking he didn't, but I definitely would, because the house is essentially, it's really close to the water there.
You want to go in the middle at like 275 or 300? Or do you want an exact number?
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Like in between the 175, if we just changed the building's condition?
There's a topography on some of them, there's a -10 influence factor for
Okay.
15, which is 15 is across the street. We're talking about 16, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see on that side. Yeah, there's some adjustments on the other side of the street.
Huh. Because I think
About 5%.
18, there's a house, and maybe 18 would show it.
Which is on the other side of the street.
No, it should be on the same side. Yeah, 16 and 18.
Okay, sorry. Yes, you're right. 18, no adjustments for, there's, like I said, there's adjustments on the other side of the street, but not that side.
That's wild. Because I wonder if
There
the
must have been
adjustments on
other
the others,
factors. Yeah.
because there's the power lines that go through.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if
Let
that's
me
it.
Let me go back to 16 and yeah, so did he mention anything about the basement finished area?
I can't imagine that anything there is finished.
No, because we had 875 square feet of finished area.
I mean, I'm sure.
So if that's low, if I change that to low condition or.
Yeah, I put that in poor condition also, because it's like a glass wall around the bottom area, but that's all going to need to be replaced. And he did say he wants to do that, so it'd be an in-law apartment.
Yeah, because it is a walkout.
Mm-hmm.
And we had hardwood floors and carpet. Any other items that he mentioned? I mean, yeah, I have it in. We can. So if you come up with, I'm just one other thing I can. So if we do a external functional obsolescence,
We want to come back to this one, or?
So
or do we
I
want-
just did a functional obsolescence on it, a -10 because of a lot of the other issues that I recall him talking about. So that, hold on. All right, so that brings us down to 287.8.
For market value?
Yes.
Okay.
So it brings the building down to 142,660. So I added a 10% functional obsolescence because at this point there's a lot of issues, right? So that is functional. So it's in poor condition,
Okay.
functional.
Motion to set the market value, unique ID 316-60600 at $287,800. Can I have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Hi. So assessed, I'm sorry, the number you put out there was the assessed value,
No,
2,000.
that's
the
Oh, you
market.
did
that's the market.
value.
Yep.
Sorry.
The assessment would be 201,460.
Mhm. Okay. So market at 287. Value of 2,001,460. Okay, great. And Regina, did you just second?
I did.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure if we seconded or not. Okay. And we did do all in favor? Sorry, I'm getting tired. So all in favor? Yes. Okay. All right. We're on to the cars.
So we're on, shh, be quiet. So we're on the Peters?
Keller, yep.
Keller, okay. So this is the one where you have to. Listen.
So there's just a mileage adjustment, right? And that's about it.
Just a mileage adjustment, yeah. I feel bad because it sounds like there's probably a condition adjustment too, but
This is the one, we're talking about the 2019 Ford Flex.
and the Oshkosh. I'm sorry. No, you're right. You're right. Just the full Flex.
The car's a year old. I mean, there's no way it's worth $24,000, but
Yeah, I got my people confused.
yeah, no problem. If I am looking at this correctly, mileage adjustment is $825. Does that sound correct?
Yes. 820.
Mile for market value.
Off of the market value of,
The mileage.
so where's our end number here?
That's
So we have 30,500 and it should be that number minus 825. Is that correct?
yes.
And we're looking at the 2019.
Ford Flex.
2019 grand list first.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Right, am I, correct me if I'm wrong, we're just taking the 825 off of the 3050, 500, I'm sorry. Is that
Yes.
right, or no?
Yes,
Yes?
yes.
Okay, so that becomes a motion of to set the market value at 29,675 for grand year 2019 on unique ID 81471.
Okay,
Can I
so,
have a second?
Seconded.
and just to go, motion to adjust market value to 29,675.
Yep.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then on the 2019, I think the motion is to make take no action. Sorry, the
2020.
2020 on the 2019 car for the 2020.
Roger. Okay, unique ID 59469. Motion take no action. Can I have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. So, Red Door Homes, Scott Bricky. Basically, we said that he needs to bring down a copy of that M65, which apparently he may or may not have. So I think right now we'll just postpone and deal with this on Saturday. Hopefully we get something from him. If not, then we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay.
So can the office just reach out to him and just confirm that that's his understanding of it? Like, it's not our job to go dig through whoever he may have submitted it to. I'm worried he left that thinking still that he had sent it and we're all one, homogeneous mess.
Yeah.
Well, the documentation he did provide after requesting was not, was still missing documentation. And that is the reason that I couldn't give the exemption.
Okay.
And we did not find any exemptions previously given. There's nothing on the grand list. So what the board can do too, though, at this point in time, is I think he's talking about valuation also.
Well, I guess the question is when, we're sending it, when is that exemption up? So that's what we need that paperwork to show.
This is his 5th and final year, this on the 19, I believe, right, Francine?
Yes, if it was, you would have to calculate, the supple would be 1. So if it was it, what did we say, 15 or 15?
Yeah.
Okay, so it would be 15 supple, so that's 1 year, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 would have been the last one. So 19 is the last year if there was an exemption form filed.
But he didn't file that form, right? So can we even address 2019 right now or no?
Well, how would it be? I'm confused. How would it be 16 if he bought it in, I'm sorry, 15 if he bought it in 16?
The grand list runs from October 1 of 15 through September of 16.
Thank you, Jennifer.
In March of 16. He bought it during the 15 grand list year.
Gotcha. Okay. So, right. Okay. Assuming that he bought it before the September 1, 2016, right?
Yeah, he bought it during the year of the 16 grand list, which is why it was on the the 15 grand list. And
Okay.
it appeared on, the first we would have seen it would have been the 15 the supplemental billing.
That's an interesting.
It is. I mean, we spent a lot of time on this trying to, find documentation. I did feel really bad. Unfortunately, without the documentation, I was not able to give any exemptions. I made several calls, different other, to see what I could do in this case. And here we are.
Okay, well, let's tell him that if he supposedly has that paperwork, he needs to bring it in, even though he says he has.
Yeah, what he did provide was not an original copy.
Yeah.
And then that other form, the H form, what I listed that was not provided was missing.
That's in your email.
Yeah.
So we have a copy of the exemption application?
No.
No.
Okay.
All we have is emails.
So if he is able to bring this paperwork in, that will resolve 2019, even though we're not, he didn't put in for us to hear about 2019.
No, he put in for 2019. He didn't put in for 2018. He could have appealed both. Jennifer did email him, telling him that, that we had only received the 19, that he still had time to file both 18. Because they're two separate years, we needed 2 appeal applications for each one. He could have appealed the 18 also because of the timing that we added it to the grand list when we discovered it, because of, it was added the time when he had the opportunity to appeal it. It wasn't on last year. It wasn't on the 18. It was added later on. The other
Well,
thing,
I'm not prepared to take any action.
Yeah. All I'm saying is what he's also mentioning on his appeal application, he talks about the valuation. His estimate of value is $60,000. The market value that we have on it is $82,460 for an assessment of 57, whatever. So that's the other item that the board could make a decision on.
But for what year?
For 19.
This is the only year he actually appealed.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay. But we're just.
I'd like waiting to Saturday. We'll see if he's able to bring something else in that can help us. Since he didn't really push back on the value, he felt relatively comfortable with that. But if
We have a value of 82 and he said 60, so.
Yeah, that's why I'm mentioning that, because on his application, he puts down appellate's estimate of value is 60,000.
But I did ask him about that, and he said he didn't really have any significant challenge with our numbers. The 82.
Okay, I was probably off not paying at that point. Okay.
All right, well, let's just reach out to him, and then if not, then that's all we can do on Saturday.
Okay.
I will reach out to him tomorrow from the office requesting a copy of the M65 that he claims he has.
Okay.
And that other form that's missing.
The H something.
Yeah.
Well, anything that he can provide will help fill out the picture.
Because he did provide us with a copy of an M65, but
We don't have it.
It was a copy. It was a copy that,
I'm not, I mean, I
that,
don't-
yeah. Review the file, Jennifer,
Yep.
and see what we have. I mean, we went back and forth on this so many times. The other form that was missing, that was required, okay, that
I mean,
was
I
not
see
included,
David's
is the
desk before,
H13.
the fact
I'm
that
sorry?
something got- I saw David's desk before, so the fact that something got lost, you know.
David had a really good memory, I do have to say. So this is something that's not very common and something that you would recall if it was filed. I'll leave it at that, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Mr. Vincent. I think the same thing. He was gonna bring some pictures of his rotted out car.
That was just the Ford, right? Oh, excuse me. Not the Oshkosh.
Oh, I had it as just the Oshkosh, that he's bringing the pictures, additional paperwork in.
No, it was the Ford. Oh, wait, yes. I'm sorry. It was the Oshkosh.
I believe the
Ford.
Oshkosh, he claimed there was an appraisal done on it.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes, that's what we were waiting on for that. The Ford, I mean, I'm looking at, it goes 2006 and older, and it's 5 years older than that. As a 2001, kind of, so mileage table doesn't go back that far. He's valuing it at, what did he say? 500?
Mhm.
I don't know, where are you guys at on that?
I don't think it's 500, but I can understand coming down further because exactly what you said, it bottoms out the chart.
Yeah. It's probably worth $1,000. It's
Okay.
$500 in scrap, you know? So, I don't know. But I'm open to debate.
I'd be okay with that. It only has almost 200,000 miles. My cars go to 260, 280 easy.
Ooh, you got to stay there. Or you're like, that's not high mileage.
Yeah, come on. 1,000 works.
My car with the. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Okay.
Okay, let's see here. Unique ID 69243. Set the motion to set the market value at $1,000. Can I have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is a portion of that based on mileage or fully based on mileage?
Mileage and rust and rot.
What would you estimate the mileage adjustment at?
500.
Thank you.
I don't know. If it's rusted out, that's expensive, I think.
And the Oshkosh Trail, you're deferring to Saturday to give him an opportunity for the appraisal?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Then we have Mr. Gazzo.
I mean, generally, he did lay out his numbers here, plus the 25% penalty.
So if we go with those numbers, it brings the penalty down. I mean, there's nothing we can do about that. He's obviously a chronic non-filer, so
Mhm.
we drilled down that he needs to be doing this every year.
Just a question, how are we going to use the average supplies? He's kind of broken it down to an average monthly. The list that he said, it sounded like tools needed to manufacture the stuff like sandpaper and then consumables. that like go into the product. So is that categorized correctly all under that like personal property?
Yes.
Okay. But we would take
Alright,
the
I'm
whole
back.
amount. Sorry, Francine, go ahead.
I just brought my screen to that page, average supplies. The average monthly is what gets reported. Okay. We take for the whole year divided by the number of months that they're in business. And then we take the average monthly. So.
A lot of sandpaper.
Well, yeah, there's other items too, not just sandpaper.
Seems expensive. Freaking racket.
Everything's expensive now.
We're lucky he didn't put, or he's lucky he didn't put lumber.
Lumber, yeah.
It looks like the rest of that page, Francine and Jennifer, is taken into account the depreciation. Does all that look accurate to you guys?
Let me pull up the account and see if some of this information that we have is from like prior years, way back when or not.
Okay.
Because so let me pull up the account here.
I think a lot of this was estimated because it had been so long.
So there's no penalty.
What's the unique? What's the unique ID on that? I'm sorry. So it's a little quicker.
4100840.
4100840.
Yes.
All right, so our system goes back to 2011. And that was a non-filing. So unfortunately, it was all non-filing. So that's why it was this year estimated based on what I saw, the type of business. All right, so your question was, Regina.
It looks like when he's laid out his amounts and then, you know, it looks like his depreciation, right? The 30%, 70%.
Yep, so let me pull that up. So let's go there.
Because I guess my question is, assuming he's accurate on the expensed, just is the next column over accurate and what we should be basing our motion on?
All right, so if he acquired something in 19, that would be 90%. Anything prior is 30%. And we wouldn't have mechanics tool. I mean, but it would be the same depreciation because he's not a mechanic. So it would all go under 16. So yeah, so the depreciation is accurate.
I slightly question the values, is just my 2 cents of whether he's reporting cost there or not.
Mm-hmm.
When it says expensed, we
so that's
cost and then depreciate.
Good point, Jennifer. Yeah, because it should be original cost, transportation, installation. So expensed. Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Because at some point you get to a point when you do your tax return that, you know, it gets fully expensed, fully depreciated. It falls off of there. For a business, that cost is still reportable as personal property. Okay. As long as you have the piece of equipment, even though it's fully been depreciated off your tax return, it is still taxable at the cost, and then we depreciate it. Our percent good ends for most of it at 30%. So here he indicates that that's the expensed amount. So what is the actual cost
of those items? As an example, a compressor, he's saying is $80. Is that a true cost figure of a compressor? Even if it were bought 10 years ago, would a compressor cost $80?
Okay.
And it should be at the real cost, and then it gets depreciated.
I mean, I have no idea what these prices are. Would be. And I'm sorry, so there's no penalty for his having not filed for since 2011? How is that addressed?
There is, it's 25% of the assessment.
So if we change
So-
the assessment, that will change. There'll
The
still be a-
penalty, yes, but it'll be adjusted based on the assessment. That's correct.
But that's just for this year. It's not for 2019, 2018, every other year that they didn't file.
No, the other years they were assessed because, there was an assessment on there. However, it was minimal.
Okay, and so they did pay. They just hadn't put in the
Yes.
paperwork. Okay, all right.
Exactly.
All right, great. Okay. So I do
So
think.
the prior years were, let me go back and let you know, and that's where what happens is we get prior assessments. Last year was 2760. Prior to that was 2585, 2573, 2560, 2000, 2000, 2000, 2000. He's always paid on time, and that's where, but never filed. We get to a point where, we have to review some of these and determine, and that's kind of a known thing. We discover businesses that don't file, I'm sorry. They do pay their tax because they do have a business, they do have personal property. And you get to a point where we're like, okay, well, they're never filing, but they pay their taxes. Obviously, they are in business. They obviously were, probably either very low, too low because we're trying to estimate. And then at this point, I guess this was probably a little high. So here we are, came out of the woodwork. So it's up to the board now to figure out. So prior year was 2,760 was the assessment for last year. And that included a penalty, which was obviously probably very low, but
What items were reported last year, or do we use as figures in those codes, Francine?
Yeah.
Because we didn't print off the 19 for them.
16, 23, 24, and then the penalty.
And
So that sounded.
The value for 16 was.
Well, at this point, the board, a final assessment would be, an assessment, and then we would do a penalty on top of that. So it's not to do by category. You can take a look at his scheduling that he has included and go from there is what I would recommend.
I mean, I would tend to go with his 1,586.93. And then we add the penalty onto that.
I feel like.
Right, well, the penalty is 25% of that number. Or 75. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Actually, it would be less than that because that's his depreciation. So this is the depreciated amount at 1,586. I'm just going through here because that's his depreciation. Is that 9? That's 1110. So that brings us lower than last year at 1390.
So lower than what he's requesting?
No, the final assessment based on this depreciation. So his depreciated value, what this is showing is 1,586. Okay, so so the 396, he did add a penalty. That's 396 is a 25% penalty. But that's not, they calculated on a depreciated amount. The penalty gets added to as an assessment. So you first have to find out what the assessment is of that 1587. Okay, so 1587, 70% gives us 1110. Plus 25%. So his penalty would be 277. Okay.
Okay.
So it would be 15 if you were to take these figures, this 1587. So first we find out what the assessment is on that, and that's 1110, right? So 1110 plus 25% penalty is 278. So 278 plus the 1110 gives us 1388. What I'm saying is last year, the full assessment with penalty was 2,760. Prior to that was 2,585, 2,570. Prior to that, 2,560. Prior to that, it was always in the 2,000.
So this is dramatically lower.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 2,076, is that what I heard?
I think that was a previous year. So
Are you
this
asking
year,
me, Sean? 2,760 was 2019's assessment, which included a penalty. Is that what you were asking me?
I'm trying to figure out where we're at for this
Okay.
new number, including the penalty.
what was his assessed value last year, Francine? Because I know
I've
it's
got like 5 more minutes, guys, and then I got to get going. So maybe we need to push this one off if we can't figure it out.
because I just feel like it's a little too low, but we're dickering about $500.
Mm-hmm. So last year was 2210 assessment.
He's a woodworking shop. He's got nothing but hand tools and stuff that's probably all 100% depreciated. He doesn't have a computer in there. You know, he doesn't have much. The guy's been in business for 100 years and probably, you know, I'm
All
good
right,
with
well,
whatever
if
you
that's
guys throw out there, but he doesn't have much there. And so,
okay. If that's the case, then I'll just go ahead and make a motion that we accept his market value of $1,586.93, which I believe, Francine, you said it becomes 1,110 assessed value plus $278 in penalties for a total of 1,388.
Correct.
second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Regina, you're muted, but I think I can read your lips.
Okay. So I'll write that up.
We got booted for a little bit there, guys. I have no idea where you landed on that one, so, but I'll get it from the minutes.
Okay. We have one left. Yay.
So I think this one's really pretty simple. I don't think that our board needs to take any action with this. It's way over our head. And honestly, that's a huge, they're not even asking for, you know, pennies. They're asking for millions and millions and way above my head and way above this board's head, in my opinion. I'll defer to you guys for any additional feedback on that.
I enthusiastically agree.
Lori, good? So,
It's unanimous.
cool. Motion on unique ID 201-9087 is to take no action. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Look at us. That was pretty good.
This is early.
Were there no shows that you need to take action on?
There's one no-show.
Yeah.
Interior's complete, the second one.
So do we want to give them an opportunity to show up on Saturday if they're available? No? Okay.
Here's the board.
I'd be game to let them come on Saturday.
Fine with that, as long as they're coming within like the time everyone else is, like, not at like 4.
If
I don't know what our published times.
Yeah, if I were to contact them, they would be put at the end. There are no
Okay.
open spaces on Saturday, right
Okay.
now.
Okay, that'd be fine.
So you want to defer to Saturday?
Do we need a motion for that?
I think so.
Okay.
I think you do need an action
do?
to allow deference.
Okay, motion for,
Motion to defer hearing appeal. Would that be the right way to phrase it?
You would have to do all the ones that did not show up, not just one, but whoever did not show up.
And Francine, will that apply if there's no shows on Saturday? Is this
And there,
precedent?
and that,
If that's the case.
that's
then we
my
will.
sentiment. Yeah, because usually, I mean, they get notification. There's a time, and if they don't appear or don't call in, the decision is no change. But yeah, if you do it today, then how often, whoever doesn't show up the next meeting, are you going to
So let's
open
just
up
leave it.
another date? So
Let's just
Can.
leave it as then.
What was that, Sean?
Yeah,
I missed what you said.
I don't want to set a precedent that if they can't come Saturday, because we need to be done with this.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah, we
So,
have to be done on
If we
Saturday.
make it
one way or
today,
the other.
then they're done. Except for the ones that, we said pending information they need to get to us by Saturday.
We
Mhm.
do have confirmation that he received the email.
Perfect.
All right.
And we do have to make a motion to take no action with that, or it's just a no-show?
you do have to make a motion,
Okay.
I believe.
Acknowledge and no action on a no-show.
Unique ID 412-7210. Take no action, no show. Can I have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Cool. It's good to see you guys again through the computer. Thank you, Jen and Francine, for sticking it out with us. It wasn't as painful as I thought. And
It was good timing.
yes,
Nice job, guys.
What time is Saturday again?
10:45.
10:45?
The first appeal is 11. If Lori can get us the minutes prior, we can get them settled, get them to you so you can at least review them, and at least the minutes of this will get approved.
yeah, Lori, can you also CC me on that? So that I can make sure, then cross-check the numbers that I have on the packets here, and make sure. they're all-
Perfect. Okay, that
Yeah,
sounds good. I
once-
should be able to wrap that up tomorrow.
Yeah, once the draft is completed, I will get each of you a copy of the draft,
Okay, great.
subject to approval.
And
All right,
we need a motion to
motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, guys, have a good
All right.
week. I'll see you
Thank you
Saturday.
all.
Thanks.
Thank you
Good
all.
night.
Have a good night.
Good night. Bye. Thanks so
Bye.
much.
Bye-bye.